So, hi, welcome and hi. Oh, we do it in English today, don't we? We're doing English today. That's great. So, welcome to our YouTube channel, Pub Tastings. Today, we're doing a nice tasting with Mark WESTMORLAND from the Wolfburn Distillery. I've got the pleasure and of course, of sitting next to Katarina here. Is going to look after all the pictures, videos, comments, and all the bits and pieces. We'll try and do the tasting all in German, all in English. If you have questions, you're welcome to write in the chat side. Is that so?
Other side.
Other side. That side. Sorry,
yeah.
That was a ZZ Top move, by the way. So, so you put the comment. Just put the comments or your question in German on that side.
Yeah.
And we'll translate it and then give it to Mark so that he can have a go at answering your question. Right? Today we are drinking. Well, I'm drinking a Nickelbräu. So last weekend we were at the Cask Distillery and we managed to pick up a crate of this lovely lager beer from Nickelbräu. So that's what I'm drinking today. Katarina's on the
water.
On the water. Anyway, there you go.
Later, maybe.
Later. So I think before we go any further, I think we'll just introduce Mark and say hi. Have we got him? Yes, that looks like him. Hi, Mark. How you doing?
Hi, John and Katarina. Great to be with you tonight. Thanks very much for the invite. And thanks to Andreas as well for hooking us up. That's brilliant.
He's here.
He's here. Lappy's there.
All right, yeah.
Also drinking the same beer.
Oh, he's drinking a nickel as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Prost. Yeah.
Well done. Very good.
Yeah. Sorry, English and Scottish.
Thanks for the T-shirt. You few people has managed to give me a T-shirt in the right size, apart from Lappy. You and Lappy are the only ones that give me a T-shirt that fits.
Well, I'm quite a big Scottish bloke as well, so I have to get the sort of the XXL to cover my frame as well. But that's just not all whiskey. That's good Scottish living for you as well.
There you go. Nice. Yeah.
So, welcome.
Yeah. Welcome.
So we have a full Wolfburn tasting for the very first time.
Yes.
It's not just the first time on online tastings. I mean, it's the very first time we have a full Wolfburn tasting.
Oh.
So we're really happy to do that.
Yes.
And you are the international brand ambassador, but you're doing everything we heard.
Yeah, official title, international global brand ambassador. But, you can see me doing tours at the distillery. You can see me in the bottling hall, rolling casks, sweeping up, behind the shop, helping distributors, helping retailers, just doing anything I can for the brand, because ultimately, it's all hands together. Everybody has to do what they have to do at a distillery to get the brand out there. And I'll do absolutely anything because I'm a Thurso boy. That's where the distillery is, the most northerly whiskey distillery on the mainland of the UK. I was born and bred there, so if I can't be passionate about Wolfburn, nobody can. It runs in the blood, it really does. So cheers.
Yeah.
And
yes,
cheers to everybody online, on StreamYard, on YouTube. As I say, it's an absolute pleasure. This is the Vibrant Stills. This is the German exclusive last year I'm drinking, just to say welcome.
Yeah, your colour looks a bit different, and I was wondering that.
Yeah, we'll get into the first dram, but I just like to wet my whistle. I just like to get the liquid to the lips and say, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. So we just got a comment that our pictures, which should just give me a second because they can't read Wolfburn, obviously, because we are, how do you say that in English? Spiegelverkehrt.
Mirror image.
1 second.
Back to front. So we're nerve flow.
Hang on a minute. There you go. That was magic. You see that? Quicker than that one.
Brilliant. No, that's great. What's better than folk wearing our t-shirts or hoodies or sweatshirts around the world, and it's free advertising for us, so it's great.
That was
a very strong brand as well, John. That mythical sea wolf on your chest. We'll speak about the brand later on, but it's a brand to be proud of, and wear it proudly on your chest. That big beast. So yeah, it's ideal.
If the T-shirt fits, you know.
Well, that's it.
So what you see in the bottom is the first whiskey we have in the glass. So we just thought, we talked about that earlier, that we want to start with the whiskey before we start with the talking.
Yeah.
So that everybody has something to drink.
Yeah, it's true. I've done so many tastings with so many other companies as well over the years. And for some, it's been like half an hour before you actually get a taste of your first whiskey. And it's, you know, the sweat's dripping off me, and I'm like, when am I going to get a taste? When am I going to get a taste? And sometimes I've done tastings as well that you send out the samples, and some people on the tastings, they couldn't wait. They couldn't wait. So they drank it the night before. So they're sitting with empty glasses because they've been so super stoked to drink the whiskey as soon as it comes through the door. But tonight we're going to start with the Northland, and this is a very nice way to start. Well,
should I show the introduction first?
Yeah, by all means. Yeah, great video. Yeah, by all means, Katrina, go for it.
There's a small video here.
Yeah.
It lasts about a minute. Enjoy.
The Northern Highlands was known as the Northland way back in time, and because we're the most northerly distillery up here, we thought it'd be great for the first whisky when we released it in 2016. The process of making the Wolfburn new make spirit is very slow, just to get the quality all the time. We then fill the new make spirit into quarter casks that have been used for an Islay whisky before us. So it's a peated cask with unpeated whisky in it. That's where you get the kind of peatiness out of the whisky. It's the surprise of how young the whisky is. They think it's a lot older. They think it's maybe 6-7 years old. It made me feel, and the team, just kind of filled up with pride, because it was just, we'd worked hard to get to that point, you know, and all the consistent production we'd done kind of paid dividends in the end, you know.
So, bingo.
You know, stunning video to introduce the first dram of the night, the Northland. And that's a very special dram for us as well, because that was our first commercial expression that was released in 2016. And the voice that you heard there, and the guy with the glasses, Shane Fraser, was our first ever distiller. He came up from Glenfarclas. So it's nice to hear Shane's beautiful sort of tones, lovely Scottish accent on our videos like that. But Shane, you know, we'll speak about this later on with the team. Shane left in 2019. He went to the United States. So it's always nice to see him and hear him again. You know, he's a Facebook friend. I message him, you know, every other sort of week just to see how he's getting on, because he's got a distillery out in upper state New York. But it's always good just to see him again and hear him again, which is it's part of the whiskey industry. You know, it's about community, it's about friendship, it's about people coming together over a spirit and just enjoying life. This is what we're all about. And, you know, thanks to you guys, you know, from the Irish Cottage Pub, you know, you're doing your tastings, you're bringing people together, you're giving them an opportunity to be involved in something. And during this pandemic, people want something that they want to feel part of. They want to feel valued. They want to feel loved and respected. And it's like, you know, the whiskey community and the whiskey tasting that you do and what we've been doing in the past, it's like going to a football game, or it's like going to a concert when everybody sings the same song or everybody cheers for the goal. You know, for a whiskey tasting, you've got the whiskey in front of you and you can experience it together. And that's a great, great way to do it. So here's to our first dram, the Northland. Be interesting to see what you think of this, people out there. I'm not going to give you my tasting notes, because apparently you can type in what you think yourself, and Katerina and John will tell me.
There you go.
You can see that now.
Brilliant. And again, the great thing about whiskey tasting is there isn't a wrong answer. You know, I could taste apples, somebody could taste pears, somebody else might taste oranges. It's your experience of what's in that glass. It's your memory. It's your, it's might like for me especially, it's my age. I've had 50 odd years living, so I've got 50 odd years experience of tasting different things in different places across the world as well. So yeah, Northland on the nose, citrus. Yeah, citrus. And again, when citrus comes up, they say, well, what is citrus? Is it lemony? Is it lime? Is it orange? And for me, I get a lovely sort of orange blossom from this. The oatmeal, that sort of lovely earthy taste. It's like not so much the malt, but it's like, it's like wet straw, and it's like porridge. It's got that lovely sort of mash smell to it, in my opinion, as well. And you heard on the video there that Shane did, this is a non-peated spirit. Now, although it's a non-peated spirit, there's a slight peatiness to it. There's a slight smoke to it as well. Just, yeah, well spread.
Yeah.
Because they're ex-Isla casks. They're ex-quarter casks, so about 120 litres in size. And they're actually ex-Lafroig quarter casks. So again, only the smokiness has come through the maturation. It's a non-peated spirit, but if you're maturing your spirit in small casks, that adds intensity to the flavour. And for a young distillery, it means that you can get your spirit to market that wee bit quicker as well, because it matures that wee bit faster, because the spirit to wood ratio, there's more contact there. So, it's absorbing, it's using the wood's, accompanying and marrying the spirit as well. And it allowed us to get our first spirit to market in 2016. We started production in 2013, so this was just over 3 years old. And it blew people away. It really did. It was our sort of epiphany moment. A lot of the bloggers and the whiskey journalists, they tasted our spirit, and as Shane said, they couldn't believe how young it was because of its complexity at a young age, because of its taste and its flavour. And they were, Dave Broom, completely blown away by it. And I've been lucky enough to be in Dave Broom's company a few times, and he's always asking, what's next, what's coming next, what are you doing, you're using. He always likes to get the insider knowledge as well. You have to watch, because a lot of people, they want to bang the drum because they know something first. They want to be, I've got a secret, who wants to know, I know something about Wolfburn that nobody else does. And it's good it's good if you want to get that story out, but sometimes, you really have to watch what you say sometimes. Depends on how many grams you have as well. Depends how many stories come out. But yeah, the Northland for us, unpeated spirit, it's 46%. Everything that we do at Wolfburn is natural colour. We don't add any E150 colouring at all to anything. Everything else is au natural, and it's non-chill filtered. So the fatty acids, the esters, the congeners, everything is in there. It's a traditional way of making whiskey. We don't want to play it out with it. We don't want to put things in it. We don't want to take things out of it either. Flange, here's a virtual Prost.
Yeah.
And this whiskey has a very, very special place in my heart. This was the first whiskey I tasted down at the distillery with the distillery team. And at that time, there was only 4 people on the stills. We had Shane Fraser, had come up from Glenfarclas. We had Ian Kerr, came up from Glenlivet. And for the first 3 years, between 2013 to 2016, these are the only 2 people that were on the stills. We didn't have a huge amount of employees. These 2 guys were producing spirit, and they were stowing it on the warehouses on site. And then in 2016, Shane took on his son, Charlie, as an apprentice, and Charlie's best friend, Innes. So when I came on board in 2016 as well, there was 4 people on the stills. and it was a labour of love. We didn't do gin, we didn't do vodka or rum. No disrespect to any of the distilleries that do, but for 3 years we had no revenue coming in whatsoever to the distillery, because all we were doing was producing spirit and putting it in warehouses. So it was fingers crossed time when the Northland came out, I must admit. It was let's pray to the whiskey gods that the spirit that comes out is going to be decent enough for our first expression, and it's going to be flavoursome enough that people are going to clamber, they're going to ask, they're going to interview, they're going to want to know everything about Wolfburn as well. And thankfully, we hit the ground running. And the Northland, for me, it's a place in my heart, because it was the first. It's like your children sometimes. You know, your firstborn is something great, something unusual. I better watch what I'm saying now, because I have 2 daughters, so I can't have favourites. But some people are asking what my favourite whiskey is. But it depends what day. Depends what day it is, depends what I'm doing, depends on who I'm with as well. Because one of the days it's going to be my firstborn, the other days it's going to be my secondborn. But as I say, there's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer when we're drinking whiskey. So
which one is that?
Oh, well, this is the firstborn. Not the lady with the grey hair. That's my mother. So that's 3 generations of Westmoreland outside the distillery, outside that mythical beast that we have, the sea wolf, that statue that we have outside the distillery. And it's great to see. You know, when people ask me for pictures for presentations, I always put that in, because I love doing a presentation about Wolfburn, about Thurso, my hometown. I was born and bred there, spent the first 19 years there, and then I moved south to join the police. Don't all switch off. I've done 30 years as a police officer. I've spoken to people in various situations, good situations and bad situations. And this is just an opportunity for me to spread the love of Wolfburn, and for me to spread the passion of the north coast of Scotland as well. It's absolutely stunning. The area, the people, the attitude. You know, we're so laid back, we're horizontal. You know, nothing is it's nice and simple. If we can't do it today, it's mañana. We'll get it tomorrow. You know, don't worry. And that's a great feeling that we have in the north. It's, you know, you don't happen to the north of Scotland by chance. You've got to make the effort to get there as well. And there's the mythical sculpture, the sea wolf. You can see it on the bottles behind me. You can see it in the t-shirts myself and John are wearing. That's the mythical beast. It's not a real sea wolf. It was a 16th century drawing, and it came from the history of 4-footed beasts and serpents. So it's not from Harry Potter. It's not from Game of Thrones. It's not the dire wolf. Although there was a pop-up pub in Edinburgh, and it had a Game of Thrones theme, and they used Wolfburn as the House of Stark whiskey because it represented the mythical wolf. Ours is the mythical sea wolf. Theirs was the mythical dire wolf. But it's an absolute pleasure. But the great thing about the brand is that we wanted something that would relate to the sea where we are. We're right on the coast, and we wanted it to relate to the water source, the Wolfburn, the wolf stream. So we wanted the sea and the wolf, and the sea wolf mascot, the sea wolf motif just fit the bill. It was brilliant. And us as humans, we're nosy people. We like to inquire. We like to interview. We like to sort of dig and delve, and we like to find out things. When you see a whiskey on a shelf, on a back bar, or in a bar, or in off license, or it's a festival, and you see something different that catches your eye, it draws you in. You're curious, so you'll go towards it. And that's just a great opportunity for us to get the big net out and catch you. You know, like the child catcher out of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. You know, once we have you, you can come to our stand and we'll tell you everything about Wolfburn. But the main thing is it's about getting that liquid to the lips. That's what you have to do. That's what you have to do. So yeah, some great.
Sorry. Yeah.
I'm feeling that. Yeah. I get a lot of sort of greeny grape, that lovely sort of honeycomb even sweetness to it as well. The good thing about the Northland, because it's got that little, like a wisp of smoke, it's like a burnt match. There's just a tiny wisp just going off in the distance. It's not too iodine-y, it's not too medicinal. It's, it's not like that recycled hospital sometimes you get with some of the big hitters. No disrespect to them either, but it's a lovely. I don't like to say introductory whiskey, because when people say that, it's as if something better is going to come after it. Our whiskies hold their own on their own merit. They really do. But the great thing about our core expressions that we'll taste tonight, they're 4 completely different expressions. So we'll have the non-peated, we'll have the sherried oak, we'll have the lightly peated, and then we'll have the near cask strength as well. So it gives people an opportunity to try something different. If they don't like one, they could try another one, and then they could try something else and because ultimately we know we're not going to, we're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but at least we have to put enough expressions out to give people a range of choice as well.
Yeah.
I've talked a lot there.
I'm just thinking, do we want to do this virtual tour? Maybe have a go at that and see, have a look through and then do the second whiskey. Might be the shot,
So before we start that, we have to explain that a little bit to our guests,
viewers.
So we will show the virtual tour, but it is a virtual interactive tour on YouTube. And after we finish tonight with the live stream, I will put the link underneath this video, this live stream, so you can do it yourself. We just do the normal one without looking around the 360 degrees and everything, because otherwise we would be there forever. And so we just start.
And I can talk to you.
You will talk over that. Yeah, perfect.
Just tell us when you want to pause or something like that, and we'll just hold it.
So Wolfburn Distillery, we'll tell you what the history is later on, but this is the new, modern, efficient Wolfburn Distillery. This was built in 2012 by Forsyths of Rothes, the famous still makers. And not only did they build their stills, but they built the entire distillery. And as you see here, there's a lovely flow to our distillery. So as the spirit flows in the glass, our distillery flows. There's a lovely continuity to it. We're going round. You'll see our malt bins. We get 30 tons of malt delivered every month, and then we mill it on site, and then we make our lovely spirit. It goes up into the green grist bin there, and it comes into our mash tun, where it spends 6 hours. These are our stainless steel fermentation tanks, our washbacks, about 10,000 litres in size. And it's coming, it's coming up towards our first still, our first wash still. And again, everything that you see here, it's changed somewhat as well. So if you visit the distillery at the moment, you'll see a shop at the very bottom in front of the stills. So on the left-hand side, we have our wash still. You can see the angle of the line arms there and the condensers at the back. And then on the right, we've got that lovely pot still with that bulbous onion, just to give some more copper contact. And as we walk to the spirit safe, the tree line at the back, at the other side of the tree line is where our water source is. It's the Wolfburn. It's that lovely natural spring that runs down from the moors. And we get an opportunity to bring that water into the distillery. Looking at it from a different angle, again, it's changed somewhat. This was probably a couple of years ago. We've taken over, we've taken all those empty boxes off the roof there for obvious reasons. It wasn't the best place to store stuff. But you can see it's a modern and efficient distillery. And here we are in warehouse number 1. Now, this is a good thing about Wolfburn. We we store everything ourselves in traditional dunnage warehouses on site. So 3 casks high, stone floors, not temperature controlled. We've actually extended warehouse number 1 and 2, and we're building warehouse 4 and 5. Warehouse number 3 will go into as well, and that'll show you our bottling hall. We hand bottle all our spirit on site. Whether it's our miniatures or whether it's our full bottles, they're all hand bottled on site, which means that we have supreme control over the process. It means that we're not giving our spirit to anybody else to use, or we don't sell to any independent bottlers, and we don't sell for any blends. On the left-hand side is our vatting tanks, our Morven, our Northland, our Aurora, and our Langskip, and our small batch tanks as well. And on the right-hand side is our bottling hall. And there it is, plywood on oak casks, as simple as possible, nice and simple. It's very, very labor intensive though, because when you think about having to do so many thousands of bottles per year, everything has to be done by hand. And this is warehouse number 3 as well, and it doubles up with our dry storage, all our cartons, all our glassware, our boxes, and then half of it is actual warehouse. The plan is to move all our dry storage out and to have all that as barrel and cask storage as well. So a modern, efficient distillery. And there, yeah, you can go onto the Baldeni distillery if you wish, but please, at least with Wolfburn. So just a wee bit about the history of Wolfburn. Wolfburn, the original Wolfburn distillery, started 200 years ago in 1821. It was a traditional farm distillery, and at the time it was Caithness, which is the county that Thursow's in. It was the largest producer of spirit, and this was taken from the 1826 tax records, and it was producing then 125,000 litres of spirit. So even way back in the day, 200 years ago, it was producing 125,000 litres. How big is the capacity of our distillery? We're doing roughly the same. We're doing about 115, 120,000. Last year, for obvious reasons, because of COVID and because of shutdowns, we only managed to do 100,000 litres. But it's not about the quantity for us. It's about the quality. That's what we're all about. And I always say at this point, we are a fiercely independent distillery. We are not part of any big whiskey factory or major company or corporation. No disrespect. You've got Diageo, you've got Inverhouse, you've got Moët and Hennessy, you've got all the big hitters. But there's 15 people in the whole company, including the owners, our director, our accountant, our brand manager, the 5 guys on the stills, our admin staff, Charlie, our tour manager, and myself. That is the entire distillery, from owners down to the very bottom rung. Like I'm probably there. I'm lower than a snake's belly in a wagon rut. That's how low I am. But there's a great picture. There's me on as I'm looking at the screen, there's me on the left with the Help for Heroes rugby top on. And that's the rest of the guys that are working at the distillery, bar one. Ian left a couple of years ago. And the guy holding the bottle and the guy holding the Help for Heroes edition is Mickey Yule. And what we did in 2019, we did a charity edition. Now, Mickey was a Royal Engineer. He went to Afghanistan. Unfortunately, he stepped on an IED and blew his legs off. He woke up in hospital in Birmingham, and he now is a world-class weightlifter. He's appeared at the Paralympics. He won the gold at the Invictus Games as well. And we wanted to do something for the Help for Heroes charity because our owners are ex-military men as well. We've done bottles for the Poppy Scotland in 2018. So we're raising sort of £10,000 at a time for these well-worth charities as well.
Was that the bottle to that?
That was the Valentine's Day bottle.
Okay. I wasn't sure. Okay, that wasn't because he sent me the picture. I wasn't sure if that was for the charity or not.
Yeah, no, the charity bottles is the one that Mickey's holding, the Help for Heroes box and the Help for Heroes. Yeah, that was a Valentine's Day edition we did this year. But yeah, Mickey, God bless him, he is now a motivational speaker. As I say, he's a world champion powerlifter as well. And what he should be in Tokyo this year at the Paralympics. So what we're trying to do is raise money for the Help for Heroes charity and some sponsorship for Mickey as well to get him round the world to compete, because he's he woke up in hospital, he had horrific injuries, and the first thing he said was, "I'm still alive. I have to be thankful for that." And he's so motivational, he's so sort of switched on, he's so full of beans, he's so full of life. I get quite emotional just thinking about it as well. But to be in that position and then to want to go into schools and to speak to management and to do sort of presentations and give his story and say how you can, no matter who you are or where you are or what you have or what life throws at you, you've got to seize life. We're only here once, okay? Now, we've got a saying at the distillery as well, fortune favours the brave, which we'll speak about later on as well. And I'm just hearing the glasses chink as well, which is always great. There you go. There's the big fat bald head of myself. And that's me down the steps of Thurso Beach. So this is how lucky we are being in the north of Scotland. We've got a great beach. We've got the Pentland Firth on our doorstep, which looks out over to Orkney. You come out at the back of the distillery into the next field. You've got Dunnet Head on your right-hand side, and you've got Orkney, the old Manahoy you can see direct from the back of the field as well. We've also got a great salmon river. If any folk are fisher folk, there's a beautiful, beautiful salmon river there as well. And of course, growing up as a young lad in Thurso, you had the beach, you had the rocks, you had the river. You know, it was a child dream that you could go out and play in all these things. Maybe not like people are a wee bit, they wrap people in cotton wool now and they want to protect them and they want to know where everybody is at every given time. But certainly when I was growing up, if you went out in the morning after your breakfast and you came back for your tea, you were happy. Everybody was happy because you were out there enjoying yourself. And so that's a big plug. If anybody comes up to the north, you know, not just go to the distilleries, but, you know, look at the surroundings and look at what's on your doorstep. And it's an immersive experience, you know, like drinking whiskey. You can sometimes remember the best places. And there's Morven. So the biggest hill, or the biggest, I don't like to say mountain, because it just rises up to about 706 or 708 meters in height. Caithness, the area, is Europe's largest peat bog. It's flat as a pancake. And the hills on the southern edge of Caithness, they rise up, and you can see them from the majority of the county, because, as I say, it's the flow country. We're trying to get UNESCO World Heritage status because of the flora, the fauna, the migratory birds that come as well. And because it was Europe's largest peat bog, in the olden day, when the old distillery was built, the peat would have been the source of heat. It would have been the source of energy. So the old distillery would have been run by peat with a heat source and the energy. And there's Thurso Castle, and that's the famous Thurso River, the Salmon River there. Absolutely stunning shot as well. So yeah.
I just wanted to show you a couple of pictures you sent us, because you're talking about your surroundings and how beautiful that is.
Yeah. And there's Morven, you know, the highest, the biggest peak there. And we've named our third core expression Morven after the highest peak. And again, when we're naming our whiskies, we want to name our whiskies after our heritage and our community and our, you know, there's a great sense of being in the north of Scotland. You know, whether you're from Thurso. I did a tasting in the back of a bottle shop in Sydney a couple of years ago, and And a guy came up to me after the tasting and said, "You're from Thurso, yeah?" And I says, "Yep, born and bred in Thurso. I moved away to join the place, but my mum still stays there. I'm back there every other month to do work at the distillery." And he says, "I'm from Thurso as well." And I could hear it. I could hear it in his accent. And I asked him, "So where do your parents live?" "Oh, they stay in just off Penland Drive." And I says, "Well, that's where my house is. That's where our house was, just off Penland Drive, Swain Road." And it worked out that my mum and dad used to know his mum and dad, and they used to go drinking together. And it's just, it's bizarre. You meet people from all walks of life, from your same hometown, 9,000 population in the very far north. But here's me doing a presentation in the back of a bottle shop in Sydney, and bang, I bump into somebody who's used to stay hundreds of meters away from where I stayed. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm seeing you've got a whiskey in your glass there, John.
I'm not asking where in Sydney. I lived in Sydney for 10 years,
Well, I was going to ask you where the accent was from. So this was the Oak Barrel in the CBD, in the centre of sort of Sydney, and it's a great shop. Scott Fitzsimons that sort of does the managing of the shop as well. He's got a great selection, and there's a soft spot for Wolfburn there as well. So I've managed twice to go and see him. Last year, I was lucky enough before the lockdown. I managed to get to Sydney and Melbourne, and did a few other places for a month out that way. So it was really good. But hey, I could speak all night. I could honestly, but tonight's all about the whiskey tasting as well. So we've got the next expression is the Aurora. The rain sometimes that we get in the north, because Caithness is so flat, the rain comes at a 45-degree angle. It cuts you in half. It really does. We call it the Har, HAAS, and it's just that drizzly, dreich way that you come out and everything's grey. But honestly, see when the sun's shining, like the likes of today, Scotland's been bathed in sunshine as well. Oh. It's an absolute pleasure when you're up there when the weather's good. You'll get 4 seasons in one day, but you've got to wait till it's sunny. Shall we play the
video?
Sure.
And then we'll discuss the
Aurora stuff here. Well. I think we've got a picture of the Aurora as well somewhere.
Oh, the Aurora Borealis.
So
and again, this is why we've called our spirit. The first one, the Northland. Okay, we're in the land of the North. Our second spirit came out in 2016 as well, and we've called it the Aurora, after the Aurora Borealis, which we see from the Caithness coast as well, especially around sort of winter times. And I always say, yeah, there it is, absolutely stunning, absolutely beautiful. But I always say, if you come to Thurso and you come to the distillery, and it's maybe not that time of year that you're going to see the Aurora Borealis, drink enough Aurora. You're bound to see something in the sky.
Yeah.
But please drink responsibly. Okay,
yes.
I have to get that caveat out.
But yeah, all at home, so they don't have to drive.
They don't have to drive. They're all staying home. It's all easy.
Yeah.
Well, this is the great thing about the Zoom tastings. You're beaming me into people's houses and homes, and they're sitting in their comfy seats with their favourite glasses. They're relaxed. They want to be entertained, and certainly, hopefully, we'll do that tonight as well. So let's see what the Aurora. Let's see. It's the same non-peated spirit, but this is a different maturation. So yeah, we'll get the Aurora video up and running. Enjoy.
See you in a sec.
Cheers.
Aurora is kind of named after Aurora Borealis, which we get up here in the north of Scotland in the winter time, which is very spectacular. The best thing about Aurora, unlike the Northern Lights, is you can enjoy it all year round. We distill very slowly. We run our stills very hot but very slow, so it eradicates some of the sulphur notes. 25% of the Aurora is made up of first fill sherry hogsheads. Gives you a very kind of sweet but smooth flavour A lot of dried fruit and raisins and stuff coming through there. With a wee bit of hint of caramel as well. We take our time to wait till it's ready, and if we have to wait another 4 or 5 months before the cask is ready, we'll wait that time. So that's the process, just wait until it's right.
Brilliant. Shane gave the tasting notes away there, but it's one of these things that, you know, when you're doing whiskey tastings, you can have an opinion of, as I said earlier on, what you're going to get, or what you nose, or what the finish is like, or what's on the palate, or what the mouthfeel is. But it's so much fun to hear and to see other people's expressions as well, because it's their experience. It's a personal experience for them as well. Some people will say it's like the Christmas cake or the sherry cake that my grandma used to make. I could shut my eyes and I can be sitting in the kitchen on my grandma's knee. The cake's just came out of the oven. She's just sliced the edge and I'm eating it. And this is what whiskey does. It creates that evocative memories. You know, it's so emotive. And you can always, like, if I've been out on a great night out, I can remember the exact whiskey I've been drinking, especially if somebody's came along and brought a bottle that I've never tasted before, and we open it and we share it out. Now, I was going to say, the majority of times, if I'm sharing whiskey with friends like that, the cork comes off, and you might as well just plop it in the bin, because that cork isn't going back on that bottle.
Oh.
And again, please drink responsibly. But it just means, you know, we're making whiskies, and a lot of people are keeping them in the cupboards and they're collecting them and that. But for me, we're making whiskey for people to enjoy, to people to drink. No disrespect if you want to keep them, but there's a hole in that top of the bottle for a reason. That's where the whiskey goes in, and that's where the whiskey comes out as well. And amongst friends, if somebody pops out with a bottle and we crack it open and we shoot the breeze and we have a good few hours just chewing the fat and just having a laugh. These are the memories that you make, and you can always remember what whiskey you were drinking, who was there, because it creates that experience, it creates that memory as well, which is great. So the Aurora, yeah.
I'm not getting a lot of sherry on the nose. It's not a lot there, is there? Which is not bad. I'm a thin guy. I don't like heavy sherry whiskies, you know.
25% sherry influence there, the Oloroso sherry hogsheads, and 75% first fill bourbon casks as well.
Yeah.
For me, I like the Aurora because it isn't that sherry bomb. You know, it's not sherry in your face. It's quite subtle, and because there's it's the same non-peated spirit we used. We used the same non-peated spirit in the Northland in the first expression. But this is, again, just different maturations. And these aren't just sherry finishes. You know, these are full maturations. And then they're vatting together, the full married together. So it's not we're just putting the final result in a sherry cask for 6 months. You know, these are full maturations, which is great. And for me, it just adds that wee bit more complexity, because you've got the bourbon influences. You know, you expect the sort of vanilla caramel sweetness coming from that, a wee bit of oakiness. But then you've got the dry sort of spicy fruitiness from the sherry. For me, I get like a little white pepper bite on the tongue, just a wee bit of heat as well, just that wee bit of spice, which is really, really great to experience and to taste. But that's my personal opinion. And as I say, nobody has a wrong answer. And I don't know who, you know, tonight we've probably got some stalwart whiskey drinkers, and people will ask. Yeah, it's great to be sunburned in Thurso. You know, we're that far north. The atmosphere is very thin, but it's the Drich, and you've got to say it with that ich in the like I in German. Ich, you know, you've got to give it that sort of that phlegm in your throat, because you know that just drives it home. You know,
I think that's one thing John can't do.
What's that? No, We don't learn to speak like that in Australia. You know, it's different.
Well, you know, it's nobody has the, you know, I'm not saying Scotland's best, but I'm completely biased when folk ask me about Scotland, and obviously when folk ask me about Wolfburn as well. Being a local lad, being allowed to travel the globe and promote Wolfburn on a world stage, you know, it's an absolute dream job for me. In fact, it's not a job for me. It's a vocation. It's a passion. And I'm lucky enough. I've done the hard yards. I did 30 years, as I say, as a cop. I've seen everything. This is like it's like not like a weight's been lifted off my shoulders, but this is just like a lovely opportunity for me to share the love I have for the Highlands of Scotland. And being born and bred in Thurso, I'm a Highlander. So forget Outlander and Sam Heughan and everything. You know, this is what a Highlander is. You know, big lumpa laddie. If I can't grow it on my head, I'll grow it on my chin and under my nose. So I'm quite happy. But it's, you know, it's an absolute brammer of a place. It's a cracking place for people to come and see us, and we'll welcome people with open arms to come to the distillery, because you're not like 30 minutes from Glasgow or 30 minutes from Edinburgh. You know, you fly into these places and then you've got a 5-hour drive. I'm maybe not selling it great, but what a drive up through the Highlands. You know, and depending on which way you can go up via Glencoe, or you can go up the A9 via the Cairngorms as well. So you eventually get to Thurso, and when you come to Thurso and you've made that journey, it's like you've done the effort. You've put the effort in to get to somewhere that you've always wanted to go to, and it's that sense of accomplishment as well. When I was in Melbourne in 2019, I did a tasting at the Whisky and Ailment Bar, a renowned sort of whiskey bar in Australia, and a couple came up to me at the end of the tasting and said, "That was brilliant. The spirit was absolutely brilliant. Your passion about the brand was brilliant. You know, it was. We could sit here and listen to you all night. It's definitely on our one to visit list." And I was doing a tour at the distillery in July last year when sort of lockdowns broke in Scotland, and the same couple that were in the Whisky and Ailment Bar walked into the distillery.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, "We told you we would be back. We told you we would come to see you." And I was completely blown away that they'd actually made the effort to come. They were actually locked in Scotland. They couldn't get back to Australia.
Yeah. It's very difficult last year.
And Hayley was pregnant as well. So she was pregnant, but they managed to get back to Australia. Robert and Hayley's daughter was born, called Isla. Brilliant name. And the Whiskey Fiends, the pair of them. I did another tasting in January for Whisky and Ailment, this time on Zoom. And there on the bottom corner of the 20 or so faces was Robert and Hayley and baby Isla in their arms. And it was just, you know, the ability to make friends, to experience cultures, to share a dram, to give the story of Wolfburn. That's what I'm about. You know, I'm quite happy to listen to people that say, "Well, I don't like the whiskey because, and I would much prefer if you did this." Every day is a school day. Every day in life is a learning experience. You've got to take the good with the bad, and you can't be Mr. Billy Big Bollocks all the time. You've got to actually say, "I agree with you." You know, you're entitled to your own opinion, but it's nice to have that sort of pushback now and again as well, because that's what keeps us grounded. It keeps us it keeps our integrity correct as well, because you have to be, you know, you have to listen to your consumer base. You have to do that. You just can't decide, "I'm going to do this, that, and the next thing," because there might not be a market for it. So you've got to see what the consumer wants.
Yeah.
And how you do that is you've got to listen to them as well. It's great to see the tasting notes coming through as well. And for the Aurora, for me, it's got a lovely, clean, sort of lip smacking mouthfeel as well. It's got, for me, it's got quite a drying sensation on the mouthfeel. It just sort of draws the cheeks in and smacks the lips. But yeah, nuts, sweets, nice and spicy. You know, when people are describing whiskies, you know, as I said earlier on, whether it's citrus, they say citrus. What you do is then you drill down into, well, what citrus is. Somebody there said nuts. You drill down into, well, what kind of nuts? Is it cashew nuts? I get a lot of sort of marzipan, a lot of almond nuttiness from our spirit. You heard Shane when he was describing the Aurora about our gentle distillation process, a lot of copper contact. We run hot, but we run, you know, we don't fill the stills to capacity. And if there's four descriptors that I use to describe Wolfburn, it's quite a fruity whiskey, it's quite a floral whiskey, it's quite light, and it's quite vibrant as well. It's got those sort of four component parts. Our whiskey, it's not like with some whiskies that you have, you can get that horrible sort of burning effect down the gullet, down into the sort of belly, that hot poker going down the throat. It's not like, that's what our whiskey's not like. It's like a tear rolling down the cheek, just that lovely smooth descent. You know, we want to put a fire in your belly, and we want to put a smile on your face as well. And that's what whiskey does. It's got that internal radiation, that heat that just rises up, and you've got to smile. You know, the corners of your mouth just hit your earlobes when you get something that you like, because you just think this is just the amber nectar in a glass, and that's what whiskey's all about.
I noticed you 46%. That's like a conscious decision, obviously, you know.
Yeah, because we're not chill filtering our whiskey as well. What we wanted whiskey to pack a punch. We wanted whiskey in a glass when you're tasting it to go, whoa, wow, and it hits you. But we don't want it to be over aggressive. We don't want it to be, too in your face. We just want to make you wake up and smell the roses, sort of thing. And when you're chill filtering, when you're not chill filtering, at that percentage, when you're pouring whiskey in a glass and you're adding the pipette, you're adding water to it, it doesn't change in the glass. It remains constant. And again, psychologically, if a whiskey changes in the glass, if it goes cloudy when you're adding water to it, and again, that's just the fatty acids, the proteins, the esters just clumping together, especially if you're adding like really cold water to a glass as well. It puts people off because they look at it going, well, that wasn't like that in the bottle, and it's gone like that. And then ultimately they think there must be something wrong with it. But there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the dynamics. It's just the science that's what the whiskey does. So again, people will ask me, do you put water in a whiskey? Is that what you do? Is that how to drink whiskey? I like ice in a whiskey. Can I drink it with ice? And I always say it's about experiment. It's an experimentation that you do yourself. You decide to buy a bottle of whiskey with your hard-earned cash. You drink it the way that you want to drink it, and don't let anybody tell you you're doing it wrong, because it's your experience. What I like to do, I like to taste it neat, no matter what whiskey it is. I like to taste it direct. Then I'll maybe add a couple of drops of water to see if it changes. Sometimes, some of the top notes of a whiskey, it'll open up, and it'll be, you'll get a wee bit more on the nose because it's, you're adding more water to it. So, conversely, it might not, if there's a lot of sort of bass notes, especially a lot of big peat bombs as well. Everything is down, everything is those sort of bottom notes. But you just never know. You've got to try it. Some people will ask me, well, what happens when I put ice in it? Obviously, it's going to dilute over time. But it's like, I use the analogy, when you walk out the door and it's freezing cold outside and the snow's on the ground, and you walk out the first thing that you do when you walk out the door, especially if it's a warm house and you're walking out in a cold environment, you pull your coat round about you. You make it as tight as possible. And basically that's what the whiskey does when you put ice in it as well. Just as I said earlier on, it's just the science that everything just sticks together. Everything sort of closes down, and then you've got to wait till it opens up again. People will ask me, can I put Coca-Cola or Iron Brew in my whiskey? You'll die in hell. No, you won't. Other religions are available, but you won't. You know, if that's the way that you like to drink your whiskey, drink it that way, because it's your choice. It really is your choice. So you can do it that way if you wish. The great thing about single malts and single malts of quality is that if you're mixing it with mixers, the quality of the malt will shine through, depending on how much you put in as well. A lot of our whiskies are used for some really banging cocktails, really cracking cocktails. Some great mixologists across the world have used our whiskies for some really great sort of presentational cocktails. And that's what I like, because when I give a spirit to a mixologist, it's like they can smell it and they taste it and they know instantly what they're going to do. That'll be great with cranberry. That'll be great with ginger. That'll be great with a slice of lime just down, or a bit of sugar around the rim. And they'll come up with some weird and wonderful concoctions. But it's like a meal. If you want the best taste, you buy the best ingredients. If you go and you get the cheapest of the cheap and things that aren't tasteful, you won't get a great meal. So if you're doing that, buy a quality single malt, buy Wolfburn.
Yeah, it's important with cocktails to have a good basis. You know, we know that because of our cocktail. We don't buy the cheapest vodka and we don't buy the cheapest gin, and that's it. Just doesn't work.
You don't want to lose. You don't want to lose that taste and flavor. You know, if anything, the cocktail raises the bar. It actually, it proclaims the spirit. It just rises it up. And again, that good analogy of a cocktail proclaiming the spirit. It's like, you know, you saw our dunnage warehouses there, our traditional dunnage warehouses. Where we are in Scotland, the north of Scotland, we want the outside environment to help mature our spirit. So as the angel share leaves, wood being porous, as the angel share evaporates, the outside environment has an opportunity to come in. So we're surrounded by the sea air. So a lot of people have said in their tasting notes, I've noticed that you've popped up on screen, there's sometimes a saltiness, there's a brininess or a maritime taste that you can get from our spirit. I get that as well. But we're surrounded by gorse and heather, and we want the outside environment to help mature our spirit. Our wood management program, whether it's our choices of casks or sizes of cask, it's like if you're in a football team and you score the winning goal in the cup final. When you get paraded around the stadium by your teammates, you're on their shoulders. They've raised you up and you're saluting the crowd. This is what our wood management program, this is what we want to do. We don't want our wood management program to overwhelm our spirit. We want our wood management program to proclaim, to rise, to lift our spirit. Yes, 60, 70%, you know, depending on, you know, what you read and where you read it, has, you know, you want that bourbon influence, you want that sherry, you want that port or Madeira influence, but you want your initial spirit to be able to be recognizable. The DNA of your distillery, the essence of your distillery. What's better than 15, 20 years from now, somebody picking up a glass, having a nose, that's a Wolfburn. Having a taste, that's a Wolfburn. That is the accolade that every distillery strives for. It's that obvious recognition of this is what we're doing. And, you know, we were lucky enough to have Shane Fraser come up from Glenfarclas and Ian Kerr come up from Glenlivet. You know, beautiful, beautiful Speyside distilleries. But now we're producing a spirit in the far north of Scotland. So again, we're using our environment. And this was, this was a great opportunity for our distillers, because this was their first opportunity to create their own spirit. It's like anything. It's like any builder working for a company, and then somebody asks them, can you build a house of your own design? There's an opportunity there. And the great news for us, when we decided to build our distillery in 2011, the Wolfburn, the water source, was still there. The old distillery was all gone. There's nothing left but old flagstones, old the foundations of the distillery. But the source of the water, the natural spring, was still there. The Wolfburn was still running. And lucky enough for us, a new industrial estate had been built just at the back of the Wolfburn. So the water just runs back down past the distillery. So we were just diverting some of that water coming in, and we've reawakened the Wolfburn name some 150 years later. Because Wolfburn, the original Wolfburn Distillery, lasted from about 1821, some 200 years ago, to about 1870 on and off. We know that from tax records and from some ordnance survey maps and from some sort of voters' roll that we've managed to find. But we don't have any pictures of the old distillery. We don't have any pictures of the bottle. We don't have any recipes. So if a bottle is found under the floorboard somewhere in any years to come, that'll be a gold find. That'll break records at any auction, I'm sure. We've had people up with metal detectors and everything, but again, what we're trying to do, we're trying to create that traditional way of making a spirit, but we're trying to create it with a modern and efficient distillery. As I said earlier on, Forsyth of Rothes, the famous still makers, Richard Forsyth, son of Richard Forsyth, he had just taken over the company, and he wanted to make his mark. He wanted to do something that wee bit special. And Richard had an opportunity. He had a couple of ideas for stills, and when we approached him, he said, what about these stills? We talked through the distillery, and they said, yes, this is what we're going to do. This is the stills we're going to make, and this will be the sort of, hopefully, the result of spirit. There we go. Yeah, there's the workhorse. Our wash still 5,500 litres, and our spirit still. And again, everybody thinks that's the iconic look of a distillery. I did a presentation in New Zealand, and I was asked by a food technologist, what's the one process at Wolfburn that makes your spirit so special? And I was thinking, is it the mash? Is it the barley? People talk about the terroir, the history of where things are from, and everything to do with the heritage of your supply. And then I thought, is it the mash? Is it the temperatures of water? Is it the yeast that we use? Is it the fermentation time? Our fermentation time is 67 to 92 hours, depending on which day it's done. And we're only doing, we usually only do about 6 mashes a week, but we do 8 mashes a week in the winter time, and that's what gives us our yearly total. We don't crack the whip. The boys have got weekends off. The stills aren't run 24/7. So it's a very, very simple, nice and relaxed process. But the question I was asked, what's the one part of the process? I shook my head and I said, I don't have an answer for you, I'm sorry. And he said, that's the right answer. If you had told me it was one part of your process, I would have called you out as being a bullshitter. Because it has to be the entire process. And that entire process includes your maturation as well. We're doing things with love. We're doing things with heart and soul. I always say blood, sweat and tears goes into making our whiskey, but that wouldn't taste nice in a glass. So we have to produce a phenomenal spirit. Yeah, absolute stunning guy. Richard, the Forsyths team come up to our distillery to do maintenance on the boilers or on the stills, or because everything is built by Forsyths. I've got the blueprints, as well. It's great to see the effort and the time that's gone into making our our distillery. From the outside, it looks like a cattle shed. We don't have the big fancy pagodas. We don't have the old stone brick walls. People have described our distillery as one of the ugliest in Scotland, but I don't care. I don't care what you look like. It's what's in here that counts. And when you open the door at Wolfburn, you see the beating heart of Wolfburn, our soul, and that's where the magic happens as well. You popped the Morven up there. I think that was a little hint that we should go.
Yeah, it was.
We'll move along with it, yeah.
I like that. I told you, Katerina, keep it on track, because you can see I can talk about various things. I'll go off on tangents.
I just wanted to show our viewers that they can open the third the bottle. So
yeah, and on the front of that Morven bottle, you can see it here. This is the Morven, and you can see just above the Morven label there. That's
we got a picture of the mountain there somewhere. Hang on, there we go.
That's the hill Morven. My niece is actually called Morven as well, which is a great, lovely Scottish name for a girl. And again, it's down to our heritage. It's down to our history. You know, the old distillery, it would have used peat from the peatlands of the Flow Country in Caithness, and calling our lightly peated version the Morven is just a lovely, lovely nod to our sense of belonging to the north of Scotland, our sense of community, the heritage and the history of where we are as well.
Do you want me to show the
video?
The video.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, and if anybody's got any questions or that, please fire on the chat. It's not just about what your tasting notes or that. You know, just keep the questions coming in. If I can answer them, I will. But I'll tell you this: if I can't answer your questions, I'll not bullshit you. I'll find out as well. Keep your integrity.
Morven's name was taken from one of the mountains in Caithness, and we wanted to make it a kind of tribute to the history of distilling up in North Scotland. So the original distillery at Wolfburn was built almost 200 years ago. I've no doubt they used peat at some point in their process. So we decided we've got a lovely spirit at Wolfburn, so we thought if we add some lightly peated malt into it, we've got a really perfect balance between the smoke and the sweetness that we've got. And it comes across beautifully in the Morven. The old distilleries were probably farm distilleries, so the surrounding land would have been used for the crops to then distill in the winter times when there was nothing much to do on the farms. Once you've finished your dram, it leaves you with kind of subtle smokiness in your mouth, and it's kind of like a taste of the history of the old Wolfburn distillery, and it's just fantastic.
Brilliant. Yeah, the Morven, something that wee bit different now. This came out in 2017 for us, and this was the third core expression that we had that came to market. Now, the setup at Wolfburn, for 10 months of the year, we run the stills non-peated. So the malted barley that we buy in, and that's the only thing that we have to do in the north, we have to buy in our malted barley. I spoke to Shane, why don't we use Caithness barley? Apparently it's the soil's too nitrogen rich for good making whiskey. That was the answer, and he's the expert, so I'm not going to question him at all. So we import our malted barley in. So for 10 months of the year, it's non-peated, but for 2 months of the year, just before the summer shutdown, we run the stills with a lightly peated malted barley. So this is 10 phenol parts per million, and the maturation is 50% in the same ex-Isla quarter casks and 50% in the first fill bourbon casks as well. This dram for me has got a beautiful, beautiful balance of that sweetness and smoke, that lovely, raisin. I get that lovely sort of raisin-esque, that sort of lovely sort of crystalline fruit sweetness as well. this is a great whiskey for people that don't like a peated whiskey. Although this is a peated whiskey, this is a lovely introduction to the peated whiskey, because it's not like that iodine hit, that tuna cigar, that recycled hospital. You're not getting that instant, wow. This is just a lovely sort of, I describe it as like a ball of smoke on the back of the tongue, just puffing out, just little puffs of smoke, ever so gently, like a campfire smoke. And nothing more than that, in my opinion. And I could nose the Morven all day long. And people have said, perfume is just alcohol with I'm losing my track. Just with scent, and alcohol that with scent added to it. Have you ever thought about doing a range of aftershaves or perfumes? And I'm saying, if I met a girl out that was smelling a Morven and I was getting a wee bit amorous, she would have to be fighting me off with a stick, because that is, for me, this is just beautiful. The nose for me as well, and it's again that lovely. I can picture myself walking along Thurso Beach. Sometimes, depending on how the tide is for the Pentland Firth, we get a lot of seaweed like washed up on the beach. And I used to, as a child, used to go down there with my dog, and the dog used to bite one end of the seaweed, and I used to hold the other end and used to swing him around. To great. He was only a small dog, but to great fun. But that sense, shut my eyes, hearing the surf, hearing the waves crashing on the beach, having that saltiness in my face, smelling the seaweed. I could shut my eyes and do that, and that takes me right back to the beach at Thurso as well. And again, we talked earlier on about the emotive nature of whether it's nosing or tasting a whiskey, and if you shut your eyes, you can think. If you've got the ability to regress and to go back, what a great opportunity that I get when I'm smelling that, when I'm nosing that whiskey, to put me right back on the beach outside Thurso as well. So yeah, post again.
Slotty.
I have to let you know that the Glencairns that I'm using, these are perfect dram glasses. So it's not like I've got big, massive hands.
They're small. They're really small, yeah.
They are. There you go. There's our Wolfburn perfect dram glasses. Somebody asked me, and the reason why I say somebody asked me, says, you must have massive hands. Look at the size of your hands compared to that Glencairn glass. And I said, well, these are our perfect dram glasses. And what I like to do, especially when I'm doing a tasting, being the consummate professional that I am, yeah. I've got to have my wits about me. I've got to present. I've got to get the brand across. I've got to get the story across. But obviously, I've got to taste the drams when I'm doing it as well. And I get paid for it. Result, however, that's beside the point. I just like to pour myself just like 1 centiliter at a time when I'm doing the tastings as well, because sometimes I've done tastings, and then you see what's left on the table, you see what's left in the bottles, and then you say to the folk, just come up and choose your favourite, and we'll give you another dram. And because the professional, I'm saying the professional side, because the business side is done, I relax that wee bit more as well. You probably think I'm relaxed at the moment. This is just the way I am. I'm like the swan. I'm like a swan. From the outside, you see me gliding, but underneath the surface, my wee feet are going like this to keep me afloat. But I enjoy it. But the fact that people want to come and try something at the end of the night, or try their favourite, and I'm in a more sort of relaxed position as well. That's when a lot of the crack and a lot of the banter and a lot of the laughs and the jokes come out, because you're relaxed. And we said earlier on, the whiskey tastings, the whiskey community, when you feel part of something, whether it's that football match or whether it's that concert, when you feel part of something and everybody's doing the same, you feel valued, you feel loved, you feel respected because you're part of something. And when you're part of that sort of pack mentality, you feel more relaxed, you feel more confident, you can feel more open and honest with your opinions because you're safe. And that's what we're trying to do with the sort of the whiskey tastings and the sort of getting you in that right sort of mental note to be responsive as well, because whiskey tasting, it should be about being open to new things and not closing your mind off on maybe young spirit or different areas of whiskey production as well. You know, just because it comes from a different area, don't say, I won't like that, or I'm not going to taste that. Life's all about experiences. Try it. If you don't try it, you can't have an opinion on it. So that's...
we have a couple of comments to that because of what you were saying about the age. So it's from 2017, so around 5 years old, or it's 4 years old actually.
Yeah, when our first three expressions came out in 16 and 17, they were 3 to 4 years old. But obviously, as a distillery and as your age of stock increases as well, you've got an opportunity to try and vat from 5-year-olds and some 4-year-olds and some 3-year-olds. But you know, that's a good point, because as a young distillery, when you're creating your core expressions, the backbone of your brand, and ultimately that's what the core expression should be. And that's what brings people to the brand. It's not just the single cask or the special for that part of the market. You want people to come to your brand for the core. And that's what keeps the brand upright. That's what drives the brand. That's what drives the majority of the business. But as you grow as a distillery, you don't want those core expressions to change much, because it's like yourself. You know, you go to a baker's, they bake the best bagels in the world, and you like it, you like the taste, and then all of a sudden the baker leaves and another baker comes in, and the ingredients are changed, and you go in, you buy a bagel, and you taste it, and you go, oh, this isn't what I'm used to. You know, you want to keep the consistency of your product, and ultimately that's what whiskey's all about. It's about creating a process, but being consistent day after day after day. I joke with the guys at the distillery, because every time that I'm there, I say, you were doing that yesterday. Do you not get bored of that? You were doing that last week. Do you not get bored of it? But that's the key. That is the key to whiskey making. It's keeping your mind honed on the process. Like when the guys at the distillery, when they go in, you know, they just don't go into a control room and press a button on a computer and sit back and read a book. You know, everything is done by sight, by sound, by touch, by feel, by smell. It's, again, a modern, efficient distillery, but we're trying to do it the traditional way without any interference from bots, robots, or whatever. We just want it to be done the correct way. And how you do that, it's hands-on. You get your hands on. You showed a picture of me walking down the beach with Fortune Favours the Brave on my back. When you walk into our distillery and you look top right, above we've got 2 old Caperdonach washbacks. For Scythes of Rothes, they're actually based on the old Caperdonach site. So when they were building our distillery, they said we can use 2 of these 57,000 litre washbacks for your distillery. One will be your spring water tank. It'll hold 57,000 litres of Wolfburn water. One will be your effluent tank, your waste tank. We try not to get them mixed up for obvious reasons. That would be a complete disaster. But when you're building a new distillery, it's great if you can use an old part of an old distillery, because again, it's a nod to the previous craftsmen and the people that went before you, and it's just a really nice way to upcycle things as well, and it's economical as well because they're already built. But above these 2 Caperdonach washbacks, we've got a big sign, and it says "Fortune Favours the Brave." You saw it on the back of the T-shirt, and that's our work ethic. That's our mantra. There it is. Fortune favours the brave. This is what you see every time you come into the distillery. Nothing will come to you in life unless you get your finger out of your backside and you actually work for something. So fortune favours the brave. You put the effort in, you'll get the reward. If you sit back on your laurels, you'll not get anything. You've got to try it. You've got to push yourself. You have to be bold. You have to be brave. You have to try things. And again, this is, you know, I was talking to one of our owners last night via WhatsApp, and we were talking about our most recent release, our Kilver series that we do. We'll speak about that maybe a wee bit later on as well. And I said, you know, things went a wee bit. That's our latest release. Went released yesterday and sold out within 50 odd minutes. And we had about 700 bottles fly from the distillery. Then there's 980 bottles in total, or 940. I can't remember. It's that new. But we had a slight problem with the servers. Everybody gone on the website. The website was slow. It was going to crash, and then. But he said, you know, we overcame that. You know, we just took our time. We fixed it. We overcame it. We presented with a problem. You work around it. You make it better. And I said, you're right. That's exactly it. At Wolfburn, you know, lose might be in the dictionary as a word, but it's not in our vocabulary. We don't use it. It's about how we adapt, whether it's how we adapt to last year, how we adapt to the COVID situations, how we adapt to being in the north of Scotland when the roads can be closed because of snow. It's how you rally round and how you look at different ways of doing things. Like the Zoom tastings, you know, I've been doing Zoom tastings now for a year, and which is great for us because we're still getting the brand out there. I've not had to travel. This is my dining room. This is the Wolfburn studio in my house with the roll-ups and the t-shirt and everything. You know, it's great. It's in the comfort of my own home. I'm relaxed. I don't have a neighbour cutting the grass or the neighbour's dog barking tonight, which is great. Sometimes that can be a wee bit off-putting. But what we do at Wolfburn, and especially last year, because we're reaching out to people, and again, you know, thanks to Andreas and thanks to yourselves for the invite tonight to get the Wolfburn brand out there to maybe a different audience in Germany. Our sales went up 18% last year. And everybody else across the sort of globe who I've spoken to, they were saying, well, sales aren't doing really well. But, you know, the way I like to look at it is because, you know, we do a lot of, we do everything ourselves, whether it's the brand management, whether it's the design, everything is in-house. And again, I said earlier on, the reason that we do everything ourselves is because we want to keep our standards very, very high. You know, we don't want to give something of our process to somebody else because we would worry that they're not doing it to our standards. So if you do everything yourself, and again, because we're doing a lot of the process by hand, it is very labor intensive, but it means that we know how good the product is because our hands have been all over it at all stages. And that gives us a supreme confidence that when we put our spirit in the best bottle, best design, we give our spirit the best vehicle to market. So we want it to sit on a back shelf and to command a presence. You know, the packaging, the design of the bottle. Even when you get a bottle of Wolfburn in your hand, you know, the weight, the oak cap, the tin sleeve, there's nothing plastic about our product whatsoever. Everything is done to the best that we can afford because obviously we're a business. We have to make money. We're not just throwing money for projects for money's sake. We want it to have the best look and the best feel as well. And I think we're doing that. And you can see, you saw there from our latest Kilver edition, the intensity that we put into our branding because we want our brand to be memorable. We want people to talk about it. I described the Wolfburn journey as that still pond. You drop the Wolfburn stone in the middle and you just watch the ripples go out and out and out. They get bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, world domination. This is what we're after. We'll get there eventually. We'll take our time. You know, we're a small, fiercely independent distillery, but we'll just take our time. We're quite happy what we're doing and how we're doing it as well. So, yeah.
You just have to, I'm sorry, that's in German. That's the, we were talking to you about the German, the Franconian distiller. He's watching as well.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hannes is a great guy.
We just had a tasting at his place.
If you ever come over here, we'll get you a couple of bottles. You want to give them a shot. They're really awesome. I was thinking about,
so on you go, John.
Yeah, because you were talking about you managing everything. How are you managing Brexit? How are you getting your good whiskey to Europe?
Oh, the great topics.
Well, it's a big topic, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, it's a huge topic, and you know, I sort of monitor our sort of like friends of Wolfburn chat on Facebook. I'm a great believer in interaction with the fans that we have. Our sort of fan base. I always describe them as the Wolf Pack. You know, this is the community of Wolfburn, and they're, you know, hardcore, ultra fans. Now that's the arm of the father and the son. I never pinged you a picture of the son, but the son has a matching tattoo. So when you see them standing side by side, like it's like the sea wolves are sort of squaring each other, which is absolutely brilliant. But this wolf pack that we have, this community of Wolfburn, Brexit, because you know, Germany is our biggest market in the world. Germany, you know, Germans and whiskey, they're so passionate. They know so much. Their flavour, their taste, their profiles that they come up with, their interactions that we have, the visitors that we get from Germany to the distillery. I've been lucky enough, you know, I've done Limburg Festival, I've done the Bremen Bottle Show, Munich Fine Spirits. I did a 5-city tour in 2018 with our German distributors, Didi and Corey from Alba Import as well, and Dirk, who's one of the sales guys there. Absolute salt of the earth people. Really, you know, the welcome that you get in Germany. You know, you're Scottish. You're walking in and your bag's full of whiskey. Everybody's going to be happy. Come on, you know, everybody's going to be happy when you walk in and you've got whiskey to share. You know, and this is, you know, whiskey is a great opportunity. You know, it levels the playing field. It really does, and people are happy to see you. And as soon as people are smiling, you've cracked open the bottle, and then you pop that cork. You know, you hear that, and you can hear a cork popping from over the other end of the room, and it's like little meerkats. You see people just going like that. Oh, the bottle. Where's that? And you can see the people sort of generating towards you to say, oh, what have you got? What have you just opened? Because they're interested in it as well. But yeah, the German market for us is a huge market. Much so as well, we've done specific bottlings for the German market. The Alba, our distributors, they have a portfolio called the Vibrant Stills. And we've done Vibrant Stills 1, 2, and 3. This is the third Vibrant Stills. This came out last year. This is a Pedro Jimenez sherry cask and a bourbon cask, about 1,000 bottles produced. Absolute stunning dram. That was the dram that I cheersed you, Prost, in the very, very beginning tonight. We'll be doing another Vibrant Stills later on this year for the German market as well. So watch this space for that. But again, this is how we at Wolfburn reward great distribution networks. It's not giving them free t-shirts or 10% off an order or as many pins as they can fit in their box. We give them a specific bottling for their specific area. You know, we'll send them samples. We're lucky enough that Didi and Corey from Alba Import, they visit us regularly at the distillery, and we get an opportunity to taste casks direct in the warehouses. And again, that's a great reason to have everything on site. Traditional dunnage warehouses on site, so it means if you have visitors that are wanting to taste a cask because they're looking to bottle something quite unique for their own area, you just walk up the road, you open the warehouse, you get the bung out, you get the copper dog in, you put it in your glass, and you taste it. You know, we're not having to tanker our spirits and store our spirits in the central belt of Scotland. Everything is on site, which makes it easier for us to manage as well. So it's great. But yeah, Germany is a huge market for us.
Your man at Albert Imports was very easy to get on with. He was absolutely no trouble at all. 15 minutes, it was easy.
You know, and that's what you want. You know, in business, it's not just about pounds, shillings, and pence. It's not just about the accountant and how much profit you're going to get. It's about relationships. It's about, you know, it's about creating friendships over a common good. Yes, we're businesses. Yes, we have to make money, but it's doing it the right way and not trying to cut each other's margins and do each other's legs and just have a bad experience. Let's be nice about it. So yeah, our fourth dram tonight.
Yes, I'm looking forward to this one.
This is our port cast finish. So now, what I'll say to people as well, just look at that colour. Look at that beautiful rosy hue, that pinkish glare that's in that whiskey. That's absolutely stunning for me. And this was, you know, this was our first ever finished whiskey. This came out January last year, and we hadn't done anything finished up until that point. Everything else had been full maturation. And when this came out, I looked at the colour and I just thought, I've never seen anything like that from the Wolfburn stable. And it blew me away, it really did. And then I tasted it and it did exactly the same. It blew me away. Now this, it was limited to just over 5,000 bottles, batch 155. Our small batch is what we like to do every year or every 9 months, depending on how the years and what casks are available. We like to give something just that wee bit different. So people, as I explained, will come to the brand for the core range, but then they're always asking, what's next? What's different? What else can I try? So we started doing our small batches in 2017. The first small batch was called batch 128. We used the same lightly peated spirit that went into the Morven, but we matured it in small 100-litre American Woodford Reserve bourbon casks. And we did that with the peated spirit. The non-peated spirit was the 270. And then 2018, we did the 375. Sorry, 2019, we did the 375, which was sherry and first fill bourbon casks. And that was released on the 21st of March. The reason that I know that, the 375 was released on my 50th birthday. It was the owner's birthday present to me to say, we are releasing a whiskey on your 50th birthday party. They'll never ever admit that. They'll never ever admit that. They say it was an absolute fluke. It was an absolute, you know, it just happened. But I know deep down, they know the great job that I'm doing for Wolfburn. Reward me with my own special 50th birthday bottling. They called it the 375. They didn't call it Mark's 50th. But I know deep down that they did it with their hearts, which was really good. But yeah, this is 46% again. This was 5 years in a first fill bourbon cask. And then we did 6 months in a ruby port cask, a Fonseca port cask, I believe. 6 months was enough, again, on taste and flavour. We didn't want it to do it anymore. We just wanted to give it just that elevation from those sort of 5 years in a bourbon cask. Because as we'll taste 5 years in a bourbon cask at the very end in our Langskip, so we know exactly the quality of spirit that we're going to get. But for me, the 155, I can get quite emotional about just thinking about this. My dad died in 2013, so he never had an opportunity to see me at Wolfburn at all. And Wolfburn was built in 2012. We started producing spirit in 2013 as well. But me and my dad used to enjoy a drink together, and he loved a glass of port. So anything with a port finish or a port flavour or a port nose, I'm talking about my memories. I can picture sitting with my dad drinking a lovely glass of port with him as well. So yeah, this has got a special place in my heart for that reason as well. But yeah, be interesting to see what everybody comes back with on the taste and flavour of our batch 155. Why it's called 155, the first number is the warehouse it was matured in, and the second number is the row or the stau that the barrels were in. So warehouse number 1 and stau number 55. And so Slange, cheers, prost, good health. Here's to our first ever finished whiskey or second maturation whiskey here, the batch 155. Absolutely stunning dram.
Yeah, we're big port fans. Well, we do port tastings, or we started to do them. I mean, what I really get in the nose here are the dark fruits, the berries, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And again, that somebody's knocked it on the head for me as well. That lovely jamminess, lovely viscosity of those dark fruits. You're right. But it's got a lovely heat. It's got a lovely spice to it as well. Those, you get those sort of lovely bananas, sort of lightly toasted, that sort of oakiness to it as well. But then those lovely sort of vinous notes, those port notes come through, and it's got that warming spiciness to it that I love. That reminds me so much of my time sitting with my dad, just having a wee dram that is seat, or whether we're going out to the pub and having the last port of the evening as well. Making iconic memories, drinking spirit. You're drinking whiskey and you're trying to pinpoint what you can taste, what you can feel, and sometimes it comes to you in an instant. Sometimes you've got to savor it in a glass. You've got to do your homework, I suppose. You just can't think from one glass you're going to get everything from that glass. Especially with a bottle of whiskey that you have in your cupboard or at home. You've got to revisit it. You've got to go back to it. I'm not saying go back to it every night. I'm saying, go back to it sometimes. Sometimes it's great when you pull out your collection from your cupboard and you forget about something that's at the back because you've never seen it for months. But it depends on your mood. It depends on your company. It depends what you want from that whiskey as well. Because sometimes, you can be in a great mood and you want something to accompany those great moods that you have. So you reach into your cupboard. Now, when I take a whiskey at night, I've got a favourite glass. It's a big tumbler. It's got a very thick bottom, and it's like it's like a Chinese tea ceremony for me. I get the glass out. I make sure it's all clean and it's sparkling. I get the water jug. I get the pipette. I have the water ready so it's not straight from the tap. It's room temperature. I plump the cushions. I put them in my favourite seat. I get the coaster out, strategically placed on the arm. I put the glass down. I get the bottle. I hear that pop. Puts a smile on my face straight away. You pour your dram. You sit. You relax. You make, you just make an experience of it, and you can do that yourself in your own home. It's better when you share it with friends. It's better when you crack open a bottle and you have friends round. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened. It's not allowed to happen, especially inside in Scotland at the moment. Today, our laws have just been released. We can now travel anywhere, but we can't stay overnight. And we can, I think it's 8 of us can meet in a garden between 3 families. I'm saying it's right. But it's about creating that ambience. It's about creating that experience as well. And there's nothing better than you've had a great day and you want to celebrate something, you pour your favourite dram and you drink it and you think, wow, this is just, the dog's doodads. This is the bee's knees. I'm loving life at the moment. But on the other side, a lot of people will, they'll go for a whiskey. They'll feel, I've had a crap day at work. I'm just needing a shot, I'm doing this, they'll pull out a coffee mug, they'll get their bottle, they'll pour a slange, they'll down it, and they'll go, yeah, depends what mindset you're in. It depends what you're going to get from that whiskey as well. But, you know, the good thing about what we're doing at Wolfburn as well, we're creating different flavour profiles for different tastes, for different consumers as well. When I'm at shows and tastings, if people are walking past and they look at the Wolfburn roll-ups, and because it's a name that's not like running off the tongue, because we're only, you know, we're 8 years into production, but the Wolfburn name is still relatively unknown, really, when you think about it. Although we're in 36 countries across the world already, you know, the big hitters out there, they've got a big part of the market. And us being a small independent, we're just going to take our time. We're just going to chip away. You know, we're like the small yappy dog, you know, the Dachshund, you know, biting at the you know, the Rottweiler, the German Shepherd, just and it's the annoyance, you know, get off me, but we're still there. We're still gonna, you know, we're still gonna make a presence. We're still, our bark, it's still gonna be loud. We want to be heard, and this is what we want to do with the Wolfburn brand. We want to grow gradually. We want to grow organically. We just want to take our time. We want to do the right things in the right way to get the right results. Now, when we created the distillery, we didn't have the big fancy visitor centre. We didn't do any of the merchandise. We spent all our money on making the spirit. And then, you know, it's like Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner, that favourite film of mine. Build it, they will come. You know, that's one of the quotes from the film. And this is what we thought with Wolfburn. You know, let's just do what we have to do. You know, why we didn't do gin, why we didn't do vodka. We wanted Wolfburn to be synonymous with a quality single malt, a Scotch. We didn't want to muddy the waters with Wolfburn vodka, Wolfburn gin. So when somebody says Wolfburn, you want them to immediately think of a single malt Scotch whisky, nothing else. And then, you know, eventually we might have a visitor centre. We got the merchandise after all. There's a great cask, you know, Les Amis. Now, people ask us, do we sell to independent bottlers or do we sell for blends? We don't. We don't make enough anyway. And we've got that sort of ethos at Wolfburn. If you want Wolfburn, you come to us. We're not going to sell it to anybody else to bottle it. You know, for us, that's silly. We're not doing enough of spirit to give it out. So if you don't want to do that, you can go elsewhere and buy something else. But if you want Wolfburn, you'll come to us or you'll come to one of our partners across the world, the relationships that we have with our distributors and our retailers. You know, we pride ourselves on the way that we've fashioned these relationships. And, you know, you said exactly right. The conversations that you've had with Didi at Alba Import in Germany, this is what we want. You know, we want to have that feel-good factor when somebody mentions Wolfburn. They'll say, what a great company to deal with. You know, they're so laid back. They'll bend over backwards. They'll help to do anything. And this is how you grow your reputation as well. You want your integrity to remain high. You don't want to bullshit people. You don't want to use smoke and mirrors. You don't want to do the magic behind the scenes and bring people in. You want to give them honest spirit. You want to give them a chance to taste the best that we can produce. And certainly that's what we're doing. Hopefully you've seen from our Northland on our first dram to the Aurora to the Morven, which is again slightly different because it's a lightly peated spirit, to the batch 155, just something that wee bit different. The range that we can do with the ingredients that we have, we're doing really well for ourselves, and we're quite proud that we're managing to deliver to 36 countries across the world as well. You know, it's such a great opportunity when people actually had contact from a lady in China last week, and they're desperate to get Wolfburn into China. But we have a Chinese avenue to distribution already. and they're saying, oh, but we can do this, and we can buy these containers full of Wolfburn and we'll ship it. And I'm saying, look, it's not about making a quick buck for us. It's not about making quick money. We're happy with what we're doing, the rate that we're doing it. We're happy with our distribution network. So it's a polite no, because we know, you know, we're going to grow. And as we grow, our distributors will grow, our retailers will grow, and that growth will be divided and shared with people that are coming on the Wolfburn journey. And that's what I always say. Our distillery is going on a journey. You know, we're 8 years into production, very, very young, but old distilleries are hundreds of years old. And I can see Wolfburn. I'll not be here to see it, but I can see Wolfburn as one of the stalwarts of the future distilleries as well. So it's an absolute pleasure to be involved with them, and it's an absolute pleasure to present to your fan base at the Irish Scottish Pub as well.
Yeah, I like this. I like this one. You know, it's got this is Johannes Haas. This is the guy with the Haas. Sorry, this is the guy with his Edelstahl, with his fine distillery. Yeah. So he says it's got the nice sweetness of port wines with cacao notes.
Hints of cacao.
Hints of cacao and sherry. With it's long and nicely balanced. I would say that. What I get with this one is I get like a little bit like Uwe said. I get this sort of red plum, which comes from the port at the beginning. Then I get sort of like a butterscotch, honeycomb. He said, but butterscotch. And then I get a finish. What I get with the finish is the Wolfburn spirit.
Well, you know, people will ask me. I've got, you know, I'm lucky enough. I've got new make spirit, or cleric, or white dog, you know, depending on what you want to call it. The fresh new make spirit that you get at the distillery, and even at 70% or 72%, it's very drinkable. It's smooth. It's mellow. It's not overly aggressive. And our new make spirit, our cleric, is, for me, it's like I describe it as like a banana fritter. It's got that sort of oily tropical fruit, like that banana flavour, a bit of bite to it. Or
oily.
You know, I was describing it the other night to another tasting I was doing, and it was like you open a can of pineapples, and again, it's an iconic memory I have as a child. You know, pudding or sweet after the meal. If you were lucky, you would get some custard, and if you were really good, you would get a slice of pineapple on top of your custard. And it's when you opened the tin of pineapples and the slice of pineapple went out, you would get a little bit of juice from the tin, but there was a bit of juice left in the bottom. And I had two older brothers, and we would fight to see who would get the tin to drink the juice. And again, it's that lovely sort of pineapple-esque, that lovely sort of tropical fruit flavour I get from our new make spirit that I can pick up from the majority of our expressions. You know, that sort of lovely exotic fruit, that banana or that sort of pineapple fruitiness I can get from our spirit as well. So yeah, and again, we discussed earlier on about the DNA, the essence. You know, you want your essence to go through all your expressions. Yeah. You know, you want that consistency to go through all your expressions. How are we doing for time? Are we okay?
Oh, we're going fine. I'm super interested in the next one because I think Madeira is about my absolute favorite thing.
Before we taste the next one, because we have another video for the last one, maybe we want to you want to show the overview over the distillery. That was one sunny day.
The one sunny day in Scotland. Yeah.
The overview, and I get to talk over this, right? And I can tell you as the camera zooms over the distillery what you can see. And so the drone footage, that'll be great.
Tell us to stop if you want to pause it anywhere, you know.
Yeah.
I won't do it, but Katarina will. She's smart.
So we were lucky enough. Our distributors, they took a drone in the UK a couple of years ago And this is available on YouTube, so everybody can see this. So there's our distillery, the 2 warehouses on the top, and the still house.
Go back a little bit.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, I should have. Yeah, so if you pause it there. So the two warehouses at the top, and then in the middle you have our still house, and then on the bottom, this is warehouse number 3. Warehouse number 3 is half our dry storage, half our bottling hall, and half storage. Even the 2 warehouses on the top, you can see they've been extended out the back. So originally they were just about half that size. But as we grew, we soon realised that, oh, wait a minute, we're going to have to extend our warehouses. People will ask, why didn't you build big warehouses from the start? We didn't have the money, to be honest with you. It was a big expense getting a distillery open. And again, for 3 years, we had no revenue coming in whatsoever. So it's a slow burn. You get the money back in, you reinvest it in the company, you build extensions to warehouses. And then you might see, but above the 2 warehouses on the top there's an area of trees which we've taken away, and we're building 2 other warehouses on that site as well. Because the good thing about doing everything on site, it means that you've again got supreme control over where your spirit is, but you're getting the outside environment to help mature your spirit. But it does cost a lot of money to do that on site. You can see at the back of the distillery, probably just above where it says pub tastings, that's where the Wolfburn comes down from the moors. And again, that's how close the Wolfburn is to ourselves. It's right on the back door, really is. So yeah, you can play that, and we can see where we are. So yeah, just up at the trees, and there's a view right above the distillery. So that's Scrabster. That's where you get the ferry to Orkney if you want to go and visit Highland Park or Scapa. So the trees to the left at the top, and there's
1 second.
Yeah,
it's too fast. Sorry.
So just there. So if you look to the top left, there's trees, and that we took all the trees away from the edge of the distillery warehouses to the back of the distillery warehouses. And as you enter the distillery now, and you look up to your right, there's going to be 2 warehouses looking down onto you on that sort of the biggest piece of land that we had still within the 2 plots that we bought to build the distillery. Because as years go on, you want to keep some of your spirit for obvious reasons. You want 10, 12, 15, 25. You can go on for how many years as you want. But to do that, you've got to have the space. So again, this is us reinvesting in the distillery and making sure that we can have a security of supply and a confidence of supply at the distillery as well. So yeah.
We have a question. So it's in German. So John will try and translate.
Yeah. So Marcus is asking, are the warehouses a little bit close to each other? Are they? No. Read
because it wouldn't be the first one to
have a problem with fires. When one burns down, then the next one burns down as well.
Yeah, and people have asked as well, and a lot of Scottish distilleries, I've heard conversations that some Scottish distilleries will store other Scottish distilleries' spirits just for that reason. If one burns down or the whole lot burns down, what's going to happen? There is fire suppression. This is what you have to think about in a modern and efficient distillery, the health and safety implications as well. But when you've got a small site, you've got to make the best use available of the footprint, which means that we've got to build the warehouses as you see there. It is a consideration, I'll give them that, but it's been approved and agreed, and we're happy because we can squeeze more on site as well. I would hate to see a fire at a distillery. Heaven forbid. There's been a few accidents across the world at distilleries, and for obvious reasons, it goes up like a lum. It really does. you never want to see that. You never want to think about it either. But it is a consideration that you have to. We would be negligent if we didn't consider it, obviously, in our planning. But everything's approved, so I'm quite happy to say everything's approved.
Good. Do you want to go further?
Yeah, just let it roll. You'll see the rolling flatness of the Caithness landscape as well, and the beautiful Thurso Bay there. And you can see how flat it is. It's just. Really is. It's just immense. When you're at a high, I'm saying you're at a high, when you get a high point, there's no really very many high points of Caithness. Not high points as in the best points, but high points as in land views as well. And it's, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. There's the Wolfburn on the left-hand side, just coming where the tractor tracks are as well. That's where it's coming down from the moors. And again, it's a natural spring. It's very mineral rich. There was a story when we started our distillery that one of the guys had asked us, like, one of the good thing about when Forsyths built our distillery, these guys are in distilleries across the world because this is what they do. So they have the knowledge of the distillery, not only just building it, but they've got the knowledge of the making of the process. And I think one of the guys asked, what was your water test like? And then one of the owners was looking at him saying, yeah, I'll just nod and look at you quite blankly because I don't know what you're talking about. And then he says, oh, we've tasted your new make spirit. Your water source must be absolutely number one for you to get this, flavor profile as well. That lovely mineral rich effect that you have. And the owner was just going, yeah, that's exactly what I thought as well. So yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, the mountains. Yeah, that's way down on the sort of south of Caithness, over the Cassie Mire. As I said, Caithness, the county, is Europe's largest peat bog. It's flat. It really is. The trees grow at an angle because the wind.
The wind, yeah.
But it's a great, again, born and bred. I've grown up there. It's not done me any harm. Beautiful part of the country. And again, when people come to Thurso, a lot of people want to go to Orkney as well. I love Orkney, the Neolithic sites there and the Scapa and Highland Park distilleries as well. It's absolutely stunning. And I always, I sometimes used to joke with some of the people that were coming into the distillery because we're only about a mile or so away from the ferry terminal. And they'll say, oh, we just came in here, we're getting the ferry to Orkney, we're going to go and visit Highland Park. And I said, all right, glad that you came in, because if you hadn't come in, they wouldn't let you on the ferry because we need to stamp your passport to say you've been to Wolfburn first. Is this right? And I was going, no, I'm only joking. But it's a bit of fun, a bit of mischief that we can have as well. But if you're going to Orkney, we're only a mile away from the ferry terminal at Scrabster as well. So it would be rude not for you to come in. And we would welcome you with open arms as well. I always laugh and I always joke to say, we'll bring out the red carpet for you. And I always say, it's a small piece of carpet, but we'll bring it out and you can take a picture. But yeah, make the effort. Fortune favours the brave, as we say. Make the effort. Come and see us. You'll have a great time.
A lot of our guests go to Scotland. They go and visit all sorts of distilleries. So I think you'll get some visitors. Particularly the Uwe Muller, who's been writing a few times. He's a great Scotland fan.
Yeah, Uwe and Gerald, and obviously Mark. You know Mark maybe.
Mark.
Senior brand ambassador from Beam Suntory, and he worked for Atma. You can say it better, Mark. I'm sorry, Atma Huren. Atma. I can't say it. Yeah, thank you.
The new distillery.
Yeah, and it's great. It's great to see other brand ambassadors jumping on as well, because we had the discussion before we come on air. Everybody has their own style presentation, their own stories to tell. Some like to relax with the PowerPoint. Some they do a presentation. I don't like that because I don't need a security blanket. I can just sit back and wax lyrical about Wolfburn and about Thurso because I grew up there. Even the fields that the distillery or the industrial estate is built on. I can remember as a child going down to pick mushrooms with my dad at 5 o'clock in the morning to get the best. And the Wolfburn, the stream, the natural spring, the burn, is in the moors. And I can remember going up trying to catch newts and sticklebacks, a little net and stuff like that. Things that you can't do now because
you have to translate, or John has to translate what he just said. Sorry.
Yeah, but they're all little like
So I
little fish and insects and stuff like that. Yeah, things that you can't do now. But again, because you've got those iconic memories, you've got, you know, again, it's emotive. It's part of my upbringing. It's part of my heritage. It's easy for me just to sit here and talk about Wolfburn in the area and talk about the people, because ultimately experiences in life, it's not just about the views and the taste and the flavour. It's about the people, and we're social animals. Us humans are social animals. This is why the pandemic, and this is why COVID has struck so many people with their sort of mental health as well, because we miss that contact. We miss that opportunity to bounce off people and, you know, to hug, to kiss, to do everything with them as well. But again, this is the best sort of medium that we can do at the moment, and this is helping a lot of people as well. So yeah, wait till we get back to the whiskey festivals and the tastings one-on-one. And I've seen the great, you know, those lovely red walls, that lovely sort of wooden area that you have for tastings as well. Absolutely stunning place. You know, I'd love to come and do a live tasting there. So yeah, this is what it's all about. This is, you know, it just proves the whiskey community. It's about making friends. It's about making that network. It's about reaching out to people. It's about helping people. Ultimately, it's about supporting people. Like Wolfburn is supporting you guys because you're putting our bottles behind your restaurant and your pubs. This is the least we can do, because when somebody asks you, can I get a whiskey that's maybe I've not heard before or something different, you know, we want Wolfburn to be first off your lips. You know, so it's about creating that bond, that partnership, that relationship as well. And it comes natural to us. It really does, because that's just the way we are.
Yeah, we do tastings, and like we started doing tastings to keep in contact with our guests. You know, it was just like, let's do an online tasting. Because a friend of ours sent us some bottles, and we all sat around there and did the YouTube thing. There's only 6 of us, and then we thought, oh, this is
fun.
This is fun. This is a shit hot idea. We'll give this a go. You know,
that's exactly it. You hit the nail on the head. It's fun. It's, you know, it's good. It puts a smile on people's face. You know, and this is what we want. You know, whether it's physical or whether it's virtual. You know.
Yeah. At the moment, we all got to sit at home, so you know, it's not like we have a big choice what we're going to do. So
let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy it.
All of entertainment with alcohol, which of course is nobody's going to have a problem with that. You know.
And Andreas is quite correct. You know, it was thanks to him that we got in contact as well. So this is what the community is all about. It's not about they're my friends and you can't speak to them. It's about, look, let's share the love. Let's spread the love. Let's make sure that we can open the doors and we can let people in, figuratively speaking as well. So yeah,
he works for a big company, you know, like a massive company, and
yeah,
it's not really a competition thing in the end. You know, they have their massive marketing, and you're coming from Wolfburn with your.
Well, people will ask about our marketing budget. We don't have a marketing budget. You know, you've got me speaking to people across the world from the comfort of my living room. You know, that's our marketing budget. You know, we don't do big ads.
We have a marketing that did a lot of great videos, I have to say.
Yeah, the videos are good quality.
And the drone videos, the overview, and everything is really nice.
Somebody's put some work in there.
Yeah. And again, it's like anything. When you want your brand to be associated with something, you don't want it to be of an inferior quality. You want it to be the best. Just like the spirit, you want that to be the best. Just like the bottle, just like the pop-ups or the t-shirts or the everything. You want your brand to be able to, again, I said earlier on, just to stand out from the crowd. You know, to create just that wee bit of interest, that wee bit of nosiness as well. Again, just that people want to come and experience it. So yeah, hopefully we're doing that tonight. So the next dram that we have are, this is our second finished whiskey that we did last year. This just came out tail end of last year, our batch 204. Again, because we know the success of our bourbon casks, we decided to do 5 years in a bourbon cask and then 6 months in a Madeira cask as well. Now, I like a Madeira cask finished whiskey. Well, I'll let people taste it, and I'll let them sort of say what they taste and what the nose is, what's on the palate, and how the finish is as well. Again, this is 46%. I think we built about 5,300 bottles of the batch 204. That should be in Germany. You should be available. And we still have some at the distillery. Not many, but we still have some at the distillery as well. We always feel that the small batches do really well because they're unique. There's something different from our core range. And again, the batch 204, warehouse number 2 and Stau number 4 in the maturation that we did for the bourbon casks, and then 6 months in the Madeira.
Yeah, you've got a bit of variety, haven't you? I mean, variety is the essence of life, as they say. You know, you need
to. You're right.
You throw something in every now and again. You know.
People ask what our maturation, what our wood program is. You know, we'll buy the best casks that we can. That's it, that we can afford. Our cooperage is based in Speyside. It's actually part of the Speyside umbrella, for the Speyside cooperage umbrella. It's Isla Cooperage. It's based in Keith, and from day one, we've been dealing with a lad, Ricky Proctor, an absolute gent, an absolute character of a bloke, and his whole team know and have visited Wolfburn. They know what our flavour profile is, and they know what wood management and the casks and barrels to buy to again proclaim our spirit, to lift our spirit up on the shoulders, and proclaim our spirit as well. The Madeira casks, the port casks, we've got rum casks, we've got some port pipes. I mentioned earlier on we had small 100-litre American Woodford Reserve bourbon casks, so half the size of a standard bourbon barrel. And again, that intensity and maturation. We've got octaves, we've got some, we've got some big Methuselah casks, sherry casks, Oloroso. We've got lovely PX casks. All shapes, all sizes. We like to experiment, and the great thing about the whiskey making industry as well, you'll see everything that we do is a success. No whiskey making company will put out anything that's going to devalue their name. If we taste a cask or we taste a barrel and it's not ready, we'll try something else. We'll leave it for a bit. If we have to do something else to it, we might. Touch wood, we've never had to do anything else to our casks. We've not had to recast them or finish them in something else because the taste is off. We've been very lucky, and again, that's testament to the quality of the spirit that we're actually putting in these casks first. The quality of spirit that we have has got taste and flavour in it already. We're not just waiting on the wood to give it taste and flavour. Mm-hmm. We just want that to marry and to accompany our DNA.
So we got a couple of questions. Von Hannes, he asked which barrels did you have the whiskey in before you put them in the Madeira cask finish?
Bourbon casks. First fill bourbon.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the number riddle. So they're already speculating on where the numbers come from. I think Gerald came up with a Y155, let me guess, 204, warehouse 2, row 4.
So we have to say Gerald is the one that is doing 90% of our tastings. So he's doing the very first online tasting, the very first tasting anyway.
Yeah, he's
the very first tasting for many years. So he's our main host.
It's great that people come back for tastings time and time again. Again, you're wanting to create that community around what you're doing as well, and it's nice. It's like old friends coming back. When you see their name pop up on your screen, it gives you a sense of enjoyment, a sense of love, a sense of friendship as well. It gives you that feel-good feeling that you want. But yeah, he's right. Why 155, then 204? Is that the order of the tastings, or is that why?
Why the numbers? I would say why is it 155 and why is it 204? Yeah,
it's just the warehouse names and the rows as well, the Staus as well. Right. Some of our small batches, some of the military men or women amongst you might recognise some of the numberings as maybe some cartridge shells or some artillery shells as well. And again, I've got to say this because our owners are ex-military men, they're actually ex-Royal Marines, and they like to have a bit of fun. You're wanting to build a whiskey distillery. You want to use your hard-earned cash. You want to do something that's going to be in your families for generations. You're going to have some fun. You're going to want to have some fun. It's a business, yes, but you want to have some fun about it. So again, the sea wolf. I'll give you that an example. The mythical beast that liveth on land and sea. We wanted the brand to have something that would relate to where we are, the coast of Thurso, the Wolfburn where we draw our water from. But if you go under the next level, the subliminal level as well, the Royal Marines were also known as the sea wolves because they fight on land and sea across the world. So again, there's a sub-story that can go with it as well, depending on how much you want to dig and depending on how honest you want to be. But again, with distilleries, you don't want to open your doors and tell everything at the same time and everybody knows everything about the distillery. You want to have some mystery. You want to have some fun. You want to be able to throw out something now and again that nobody else has heard, or tell them a story about something that happened. So again, it's about creating that mystique and creating that sense of storytelling around the distillery that again brings people to your brand. It's the wee hooks that you get into people. For me, it's about taste and flavour. It's about getting the liquid to the lips, letting people taste it, and then they'll suddenly realise these guys are onto something. They're doing it right, and they've got a great story. They've got a great legend as well that goes with it as well. And that's what can bring people from maybe one of the major brands to your brand because they want something that wee bit different. I use the analogy as well. If you want a piece of furniture, if you want a piece of furniture that everybody has, you go to IKEA, you buy it flat pack, you buy it, you build it, you put it in your living room, and then anybody that comes round goes, oh, I've got one of them, but it's in beech, or I've got one of them, it's in white, or yeah. But if you want something that's handcrafted, that's bespoke, that's traditionally done, you go to a carpenter. You get them to make something unique. And this is what we're trying to do at Wolfburn. We're not wanting to be part of the norm. We want to do it our own way. We have our standards. We have our work ethic. We have our vision of what we want to do and how we want to do it. And when people hear the story, they see the location, they visit us, they taste the spirit, everything that we seem to be doing has a tick against it. Tick, tick. And this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to coax people away from maybe the major sort of supermarket brands, or it's not just about price. It's about what's in the glass. Am I prepared to pay for it? Is it worth it? Is it value for money? And that's what Wolfburn is. It's value for money.
No, value for money, you can definitely, yep.
That's a sales pitch. That's a big sales pitch. Never miss an opportunity.
It's an interesting jam, When I first put it in the glass and I put my nose there, then I got quite a lot of smoke at the beginning. But then the longer it sat in the glass, that disappeared, and then it started to turn into the light wine and bits and pieces,
Sorry, Katrina.
We just have to say, normally we just pour the whiskies like 1.5 hours before.
Yeah, we
let them sit there. So it's complete. And tonight we decided to use the same small bottles
Okay.
at our viewers, and we just put them in like 5 minutes before we were drinking it. So it's a different experience, you know.
You know, you hit the nail on the head there straight away as well. If you're putting a dram in a glass, you can see if you leave it for half an hour or however, and you go back to it, you know, it will have changed somewhat as well, depending on, you know, temperature, depending on, you know, what type of glass that it's been in, you know, whether it's a nice nosing glass, or a tumbler or a coffee mug. But yeah, when you say about that sort of that burnt, you know, I get like a, it reminds me of like a cotton candy at the fairground, the edge, the burnt sugar, and that's what it reminds me of as well. And that sort of sweet, yeah, creme brulee, yeah, like that as well.
But the cedar wood, I get it too. You know, I install heaps of cedar wood windows in Australia because I'm a builder, you know? And so when we were building when we build houses on the sea, then we put cedar wood windows in because they handle the climate the best, you know. And I get that really in the nose. This reminds me of putting windows in, you know.
And again, the wood influence, you know, the tannins, like, if you're working with wood as well, you know, you'd be used to the sap of the wood, you know, and the feel of the wood and the smell of the wood as well. And of course, being a builder from trade, you know, that's etched in your memory. You know, that's a go-to when you think, well, it's a woody. Is it wood? Is it oaky, or is it cedar wood, or is it maple, or is it like when we discussed earlier on? I get like almonds. I get marzipan. You know, but I saw somebody there. They were getting hazelnuts, and again, it's about what their experience is. Sometimes you can go nose blind and taste blind, and sometimes, you know, there'll be people out there that are quite happy just to drink the whiskey and enjoy it without having to say anything about what they taste, what they nose. They're just loving life. They're just having 6 grams of Wolfburn, something different. They're listening to me rabbit on about the north of Scotland and the great life I've had so far, and it's a pleasure for them. You know, they don't have to. They don't have to pinpoint everything as well.
I think this whiskey's got everybody fascinated because everybody's got a different idea of what's going on here in the nose.
I love that.
It's a complex thing, you know. This one's, yeah.
You know, that's the great thing, because if you put out a whiskey and 99 out of 100 people say, "Oh, that smells like a burnt tire," everybody says that. That's it. You know, that's what that whiskey is. That's what everybody will remember for it.
Burnt tire.
Burnt tire.
Yeah. Like that sulfur, that sort of burning rubber. You know, but it's not like that at all. But the more people that are coming in and having their opportunity to tell us what they think of the whiskey, some are coming from the left side, some are coming in the right. There's gooseberries, there's, you know, that creme brulee, that hazelnut, and it's great to see that as well, because I don't know what their experience is, but I'm just loving the love for the spirit. You know, that's what it's all about.
No, that's a nice drop. I like that. But I'm a big fan of Madeira, so I think Madeira and whiskey is it's great.
This, like, Madeira and whiskey for me, it just gives you like another level of like lusciousness, sweetness.
Yeah. Lusciousness is good.
You know,
to explain that, I don't think everybody will understand.
Lusciousness in German.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Or just say the German word. Or explain it in English.
No. Well, lusciousness is like
it's like, what's the best way to describe it? It's like over exuberance. It's like there's like embellishment, but it's more of it's moreish.
Very rich.
Yes,
no?
rich and rich lusciousness. Yeah, that lovely. You know, it just elevates it from sweetness to super sweetness, shall we say? But yeah,
Madeira elevator. You're right. Yeah.
Two excellent opportunities that we had last year. We got some great Madeira casks. We got some great port casks, and as I say, because we know what 5 years in a bourbon cask, we know that whiskey is great. We know that that's what we do. That whiskey that we, and you'll see that when we have our next expression, the Langskip. It's a winner. I don't like calling it a base spirit because base sounds as something maybe not special. But 5 years in a bourbon for us is like the backbone again, like the core expressions. It's like Atlas, and you've got the world on Atlas. But if you don't have Atlas, you don't have the world in its place. You need something to hold it up. You need something again to proclaim it as well. So, cool.
No, nice drop. It's a good one. I really like that. But that's just me because I like a finish, but I don't normally like I don't like it when the whiskey's stored the whole life in one barrel. It can be overpowering, you know, these sherry bombs and port bombs, and you lose the whole character of the distillery, and that's sort of like, it's disappointing. You know, it's
the key is the complexity of a whiskey. So you want your DNA, you want your wood management, you want your and if you're using different casks and you're finishing as well, it just gives it just that more of a dimension as well, a different dimension to the whiskey as well, and just add something different from those lovely sort of honey butterscotch, like a sweet shortbread sweetness that you might get, that buttery sweetness that you might get from a Madeira cask. In my opinion, there's a lovely sort of rich buttery sweetness, like a cake mix that hasn't been put in the oven yet, and you're licking the spoon. That lovely sort of sweet, sticky sweetness to it as well.
I think it's very important to experiment because, like, it's good to have a core range, but people are always asking for something new, and a lot of the beer companies, they're very slow to bring new things onto the market. I mean, they take a lot of time and they work it all out, and then they have it all. It's a different process because they're so big, you know.
The whiskey making industry, you just can't go, yes, we'll get that out to you tomorrow. You've got to wait at least 3 years.
Exactly.
Especially to call it Scotch, 3 years in Scotland, matured in oak casks, bang. You can't just have a fad. You can't just have a craze. And the great thing about what we're doing at Wolfburn, we're not following anybody else. We're doing things the way that we want to do things. Yes, there have been port finishes. Yes, there have been Madeira finishes. Yes, there's been mixes of casks. But we're doing it because we want to do it. We're doing it because we want to experiment, as you say. The reason that we're doing it is because there's a market for it as well.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And we wouldn't be doing things unless there was a market for it. Because, as I said earlier on, you don't want to make a whiskey that's so far out of left field that folk will go, what is this? Why on earth did you create this whiskey? And the Scotch Whisky Association has rules and regulations of what barrels and casks that you use. There's some tequila casks coming, but there's, I've heard in some weird and wonderful herring barrels, maybe not Scotch or.
Well, we know a bit about that, actually, to tell you the truth.
Tabasco sauce barrels, and you hear so many weird and wonderful things, and you think, see if it tastes nice, and there's a market for it, go for it. But again, what we're trying to do at Wolfburn, we're traditional whiskey makers with a modern, efficient process, with a great cooperage that are hopefully choosing the best barrels for us. So they know what they want, and some of the cask prices, for a lovely sort of sherry, but you're speaking over €1,000 for a
they're expensive.
So it's a major investment in our cask management program, our wood management program.
Are you doing any heavily charred barrels? I mean, that we've noticed that's quite a thing at the moment, and it does make an impressive taste in a whiskey. This.
Yeah, we haven't gone for anything. Just like we haven't done any sort of heavily peated expression as well. Like with the Morven, although it's 10 ppm, 50% has been matured in ex-peated casks as well. Yep. So again, you're giving it just that wee bit more depth, a wee bit more resonance as well, with a peated spirit matured in a peated cask as well. But the great thing about the whiskey industry, the great thing about Wolfburn is you never say never. You never say, no, we're never going to do that, because you don't know how things are going to change, whether it's consumer markets, whether it's access to different casks or barrels. You have to be able to adapt. You have to change. You have to, you have to embrace it. You have to actually say, this is an opportunity for us, rather than, oh my God, we can't get these casks anymore. What are we going to do? Oh, we're gonna horribly fail. We don't do that at Wolfburn. We say, right, this is the situation. How can we overcome it? Adapt and overcome. Let's survive this. Let's go for it. And again, that's down to our ethics, our work ethic, our mantra. And again, it might come from our owners who are, military men, like to get things, like to overcome obstacles. But we've got that. Everybody's like that at the distillery. It's a can-do, will-do attitude that we have. So, yeah.
You're just talking about the gooseberry situation here, because not everybody knows, but gooseberries are, how they smell, or they can't remember, because when was the last time you had a gooseberry? So,
my mother had gooseberries everywhere.
Yeah,
gooseberries, but
I know gooseberries and I love them, but
see, some when they say gooseberries, sometimes it's like it can be quite tart. It can be quite sharp. Or if it's in a pie, a gooseberry, it can be quite. Again, it can be quite like luscious. That sweetness, having that sort of acidity to it as well.
Yeah.
In that respect. So yeah, all comments are gladly accepted and noted, and keep them coming. It's great to see them. It really is.
So I just asked our German distiller, Schnapps distiller we were talking about earlier, Johannes. So they don't have a gooseberry schnapps yet. Or maybe they're thinking about it. Yeah, because I love gooseberry. Gooseberry's great.
Gooseberry pie is cool. Yeah.
So and Mark was wanting something. So we should smell at the empty glass.
Yeah.
So he just put like 3 drops of water at the end, but he's saying that there are definitely like green notes.
Yeah, fresh, like green apples, or I get that quite a lot. And he's right what you're saying. When you finish a tasting, if you're using a different glass for every expression, some people do, some people don't. They like to swirl it out and use the same glass. No right way and wrong way. If you've got empty glasses, it's nice to go back to the very end and smell them in the order again, just to see, because they've been sitting out for a couple of hours now as well. And a lot of people, when you're doing tastings, they might not want to drink everything during the tasting. They might only drink half, and then after the tasting, they might go back and drink the other half as well.
Yes.
In the glass, but they only drink half. And then they go back to it, and then they experience something maybe that wee bit different as well. And again, that's part of the process. That's part of the fun. It's part of the theatrics of whiskey drinking as well, because things can change in a glass in front of your eyes if you don't go back to it, like for an hour or two as well. Just slight changes, which is, it's really good to see.
Yeah, with cask strengths they change a bit, because a bit of alcohol evaporates and
you do
start going around in the glass.
The alcohol bloom when you go for a nose, if it's been sitting in your glass, it's not going to give you that instant recoil. You get that.
No, it calms down a bit.
The Langskip, the last jam that we're having tonight. This is the 4th of our core expression. This came out in 2018, and now we're jumping from 46% to 58%, and so a lot more bang for your buck here. This is matured in first bourbon casks only, and I know we've got a video to show with a Langskip, so we'll maybe queue up the video for the Langskip, and then we'll discuss the last jam of the evening.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
I can't believe it's the last dram of the evening. I could go on for hours.
So you can stay on then. You just finish the tasting, you can stay
Yeah.
on. It's no problem.
Langskip, there you see, we've got like the Viking longship, because Langskip was named after the Viking longship. Thurso was a Norse settlement, a Viking stronghold as well. I'm not sure if Shane says that in the video, but I'm quite happy to go over it again and let you know what I think about the Langskip. But for me, the Langskip's an absolute stunner of a dram. 58%. You look on the map, Thurso sits on the 58th degree as well, so it's a wee nod to where we are as well in the world.
So I said the video, and then we talk about it.
Yep.
Sorry, what was?
Langskip comes from the old Viking name of longboats or longships that used to prowl the Caithness coast. We decided to make this Langskip slightly stronger. So it kind of appeals to the people who are looking for a bit more power in their whisky, and you get a bit more body from that because there's not so much water in there, so you're actually tasting more of the distillery, I would say. The taste of Langskip is, and on the nose, you're always getting the sweet undertones of the Wolfburn spirit, taste of maple syrup and stuff like that. So it's very, very pleasant to drink. Leaves a lovely aftertaste. Langskip makes the whole Wolfburn just complete, I think. You're getting the full-bodied taste of Wolfburn of what it probably tasted way back 200 years ago.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we cut you off there. Sorry about that.
Shane nailed it. Just saying everything that I'm saying about the Langskip. Thurso was a Norse settlement, so the Vikings came over. The Highland Park, especially where they are sort of branding and what they do about the whole Viking experience. We're not as, no disrespect, we're not as full on as them about our Viking heritage. We're quite happy just to sort of keep it really sort of low key. But the longship, the Langskip, I describe the Langskip as, you think about that longship powering through the waves. You think, the big figurehead, whether it's Odin or Thor or a bear or whatever, a wolf on the front. But you see that ship smashing through the waves. This is the feeling for me that I get when I drink the Langskip. I get that instant rush right up at the front of the palate, as if the water was like splashing up the prow of the boat. And then as the boat drives through the water, you're getting a lovely wake. You're getting that long lingering tail. You're getting that lovely, lovely finish. I'll not go into the full tasting notes and the full sort of nosing and palate. I'll wait for what people think. But I also describe this as 58. This is like a playful slap in the face and a lovely warm cuddle at the back of it. A big Scottish bear hug. You get that instant surprise, and then you get that lovely comforting warmth. You get that intense heat, but then it dissipates. And even at 58%, you don't have to rush for your water jug straight away, because this is super mellow. It's smooth. It's, again, the great thing about our spirit is it's not aggressive. It doesn't have that, like Wolfburn, it doesn't have that bite. It does have some bite, but it's not a bite that's going to, again, as I mentioned earlier on about that, maybe an alcohol bloom off a nose, especially if it's a higher ABV. You give it a recoil. But the bite that this gives you is just, in my opinion, a playful bite. Brilliant. Yeah, again, almond cake. I used to deal with a doctor in a previous life in the police, and every sort of Christmas he used to come in and he used to present a stolen cake. Again, the marzipan, the icing, the rich fruit cake. this is it for me. This is it exactly. That lovely almond nuttiness I get from this. Because it's a first fill bourbon cask, you're obviously going to get that lovely sort of honeyed, sort of vanillaed caramel notes you would expect. Again, for me, it's like that sort of burnt sugar sweetness again, that lovely, maybe go back to kind of like that creme brulee, that cotton candy sort of burnt sugar I get from it. But at 58% Slange, Prost. Absolute stunning dram. Absolute stunning dram. The legs, right Cask. You know, the tears that you have on that glass just clinging to it.
Great legs, yeah. I was looking at them.
Higher alcohol content as well, but everything is there. You know, those legs will stay there forever. You know, it's like the Eiger. They're just hanging on. But Slange, yeah, enjoy.
Barley apple vinegar, lime tips are saying.
Barley, yes.
And again, you know, when I'm tasting whiskey, I like to chew it. You know, I like to sort of work the jaw and get it right round the mouth, hit all your flavour points. And again, taste, flavour, mouthfeel, it's very, very important. Langskip, for me, it's got like a fatness to it. It's got like that lovely sort of that creamy coatiness on the tongue that just makes your tongue salivate. It just keeps on.
Wow.
The taste buds keep wanting to fire. That's on your tongue. But yeah, at 58%, you would never know that that's sort of near cask strength. We do, you know, we have done some expressions above that, and as Shane said in the video there, you know, the higher the cask strength, the more sort of closeness to the distillery character you're getting, because there's water added to your product. And of course that is. You know, there's nothing better than going to the distillery and being lucky enough to be able to drink direct from the cask. Like I'm lucky enough, I've invested into some casks. I've got a couple of sherry butts and a bourbon cask at the distillery. And when you're tasting direct from the cask, you forget sometimes that it hasn't been watered down. And by my God, it gives you a kick. It really does. Yeah, you give yourself a wee wobble. You have to sit down sometimes. You're like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. But again, it's the skill of the distiller and the skill of the whole team. What's the best percentage? 58% for us for the Langskip was the best, because we didn't want it to be too super aggressive, super hot. And again, we brought it down to 58, and we thought, yeah, that's the optimum ABV that we want to release this. Again, the wee nod, 58 degrees. This is where we are in the world. This is where Thurso is. A great nod to our heritage. A great, you know, the Langskip name from our history as well. And just, you know, the fourth in our core expression. So again, a fourth different flavour and taste profile for the backbone of the brand. And again, it complements everything that we've done so far. That distillery character is still there. That lovely fruitiness, that lovely floral note that you get. But even at 58%, it's still very light, and it's still got that vibrancy as well. So
when you fill the casks, what strength do you fill them at? Like 63% or 64?
63.5.
Yeah.
So what we do, the system that we have at Wolfburn's sort of a balanced system. So we use sort of 1.1 tons of malted barley, and we grind that, we mill that on site. And the great thing is our mill, it's an AR2000, it's an Allen Ribbit. You can actually, depending on, you know, the size of the malted barley we get in, the distillers, when they're doing it, they can get it down to 0.05 millimeters. That's the sort of, it's down to a minute level. And you saw, I think it was the Morven video, Shane, he was sifting it, he was weighing it as well.
Yeah.
again, we do that by hand. 70, 20, 10. So 70% meal, 20% husk, 10% flour. But because the barleys that you get, they aren't the same size, you've got to make sure that is checked and it's weighed and it's measured. Because again, it's about that consistency as well. The 1.1 tons of malted barley, the grist, will go into the mash tun. After 6 hours, that goes into one of the wash packs. We hand pitch 5 kilograms of anchor yeast in there. We don't reconstitute it. It's dry. It goes straight in there. It goes in after the first water comes from the wash pack as well, because we want to give it just that wee extra, that oomph. And then that batch goes into one of the wash stills, the wash still. I'm not saying one of the wash stills, the wash still. And then that will go into the spirit still. And we do that for every mash. So it's a balanced system. And it means that we've got an intermediate spirit receiver at the end. So it means if one of the batches goes wrong, we don't ruin everything that's done that week. We can stop it and keep whatever's available, and then pump it up to warehouse number 1, where it's like a petrol station. You roll your barrel in, it comes out, you fill it up, and it gets rolled to where it's going to live for the next 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, how many years. And that's the exciting part. You just don't know what's going to happen. But we know that the quality of spirit that's going into these barrels is phenomenal. If you ever get a chance to meet me at some of the shows that I do in Germany or wherever around the world, I usually have, if I can, 100 millilitres of new make spirit with me.
Oh, that'll be interesting. Yeah.
Again, it's like it's the essence, it's the DNA, whether it's the peated or whether it's the non-peated. You rub it in your hands, you get the alcohol away, you sniff your hands, you're at the distillery, you can shut your eyes, you're walking into the warehouse, and then you taste it as well. And again, people are amazed at the quality of that new make spirit, that cleric that we have. And
before we're coming to an end, I didn't show you 2 of the pictures. I just showed them. You tell us, what's this about?
Who's that guy?
That's the Duke of Rothesay. Other people will know him as his UK title, the Prince Charles. Now, Prince Charles visited our distillery in 2019, and this is him actually putting on the tin sleeve on that bottle. We did 1 bottle for him, and it's to commemorate the visit to Wolfburn. I think it was the 31st of July 2019. I'd just flown back from South Africa, and we were all standing in a line, and he was coming up, shaking our hand, and he was asking what we did, and he came to me and he said, I believe you're the global brand ambassador. I don't do accents, so I apologise. Yeah. And I says, yes, I've just flown back. I flew back from South Africa. I was in Johannesburg. I flew back last night. I knew you were here, so I got told to come and visit. And I'm very, 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 very pleased. And he says, I do like a man who waxes his moustache. And I said, by royal appointment, sir, I will continue to wax my moustache then. But the north of Scotland, has a huge connection with the royal family, because the Castle of May was the Queen Mother's residence. And there was always the royal family visiting Caithness. So a lot of the Caithness shops, like the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, they've got the royal appointment. They've got the big royal crest at the side of their shops, because when the royals are in residence, it's the local community that supplies the food. So by royal appointment, they're getting their bread, their butcher meat, their everything is supplied by Caithness shops. So we were always, like, again, as a child, I've got vivid memories of the Royal Yacht Britannia coming into Scrabster Harbour, the Royals getting on the launch going into the pier, them getting off their big limousines and driving through Thurso to get to the Castle of May. and we're standing at the side of the road with the Union Jacks, and we're looking in to see, is it the Queen, is it Prince Charles, is it Diana? You know, we've had everybody up at the distillery, and there was rumour, a big rumour, when Harry and Meghan were at the Castle of May. 3 months after that, Meghan announced that she was pregnant, and we were going, it was made in Caithness. Caithness. People trying to work out the times that they stayed at the Castle of May. There's so much fun, and it's such a relaxed atmosphere. The good thing about like Prince Charles, he's the chieftain of the May Highland Games as well. Last year was meant to be the 50th anniversary of the May Games. And again, it's big business, but it's great to have that connection. And you never know, in a good few years from now, because Charles has been buying Wolfburn, and obviously we supplying Wolfburn to the Royals, we might have one of the big by royal appointment at the side of the distillery. And for a marketing point of view, like for us, for the States or for China or the Asian markets, that's a huge draw for people. What do you mean, Prince Charles likes your whiskey? Yeah, we made him a bottle. He bottled his own whiskey. He came to our distillery. I was speaking to his close protection team, because obviously ex-police as well. And they were saying he's spending too much time here. He's enjoying himself too much. We need to get him away. He's got other things to do. Can you please, like, give him the nod, or get your guys to sort of say, all right, okay, we need to go, we need to do this. But he was having so much fun at the distillery. So yeah, all credit to him. The Duke of Rothesay, as his Scottish title is, but yeah, Prince Charles, great guy.
Yeah, the Royals are big fans of Scotland, really. They are big Scottish fans. We also had a comment then from Hannes, your man there with the distillery. He said it's got, I'll read it, for 58%, the whiskey is an absolute, it is a fantastic taste in the mouth, and it has a really a surprisingly pleasant sweetness.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I think that's about the best I can do. Sorry.
Well, you're right. I did higher German as well. So, but I've never used sort of conversational German as well. I can pick up some names and some translation, but no, like from a distiller, praise indeed. And I always say with Wolfburn, the people that have came onto the tasting tonight and the people that I meet across the world, when they hear about the story, they taste the spirit, and we get our hooks into them. They go away and they become mini ambassadors for us, because somebody will say, "Oh, what did you do tonight?" Well, I was at a Wolfburn tasting with Katerina and John at the Irish Scottish pub, and they're like, "All right, okay, Wolfburn, never heard of them. What do you think?" And they would like wax lyrical about the experience they have. So again, it's great that people will tell their friends, their family, their colleagues, their work colleagues, because what's better than a personal recommendation? Somebody that respects your decision and they ask you for an opinion and you tell them about Wolfburn, that just cements the relationship that we can have with the Wolfpack, with our community that like Wolfburn as well. Because
I want to explain to you, it's just very quick, because there's so many comments coming in and you don't know what that means. So we have that order, what we had tonight, from 1 to 6. And at the end of the tasting, we're always asking them to rank their whiskies.
How they feel. Huh?
So how they feel. And they're starting with the best. It's not like the last one is the worst one or something like that. It's just so I wanted to show you that, because that's always very interesting. And the very first one that came in was from Uwe. He's always the first one. He's
the first guy off there.
So what he's saying, that he liked the number 4 the most. So you have to know that Uwe doesn't like peaty whiskies.
Okay.
Oh, he's all right,
But
not that much. So you will have a lot.
But he's got number 3. That's the peaty one.
He's put our peaty whiskey at number 2. So
Yeah, it's all right.
That's why I'm saying. So he's
It all gets mixed up, you know. That's the best thing is when it gets mixed up because.
So that's Andreas, you know, what he's saying. So in Whisky Ness is saying today's ranking is very easy. Yeah. So that's always really interesting.
It is, and people again will ask me, you know, why did you put the tasting in that order? What I like to do, and again, people say, oh, but you've got a peated whiskey. Why do you have that at the end? You know, that's a myth. I like to do a tasting, especially with Wolfburn. I like to do the tasting in a way that you can relive our journey. You can relive our 2016, 2017, 2018, 1920, what we do and when we've done it as well. I'm looking at all the,
That's great.
It's all over the place. That's what you want.
See lime. That's completely different.
And you want with the tasting as well, you want whiskies that are going to be hitting your palate, different types, different flavors, different this. You know, you want to create, again, the experience of different flavors, different palates.
But I think what you got here is a big mix, which is really a compliment because that doesn't mean that one of them. Well, because I mean, the last whiskey, of course, is cask strength, so it's already got a big advantage because it's more aroma, more taste. You know, so you would expect that one would come at the beginning, the first place a lot. You know, and then the rest would be all mixed up. You know.
Yeah, and again, it's like any presentation. You want to end on a triumphant note. You want to sing the best song, or you want to do something just that wee bit more. Yeah, I would love. Thank you very much for the kind comments. Love, to meet and greet folk at the distillery. We're hopefully looking at maybe
Mark tomorrow. Second Mark, you can see him tomorrow.
He's doing
in Highland Park tasting on the same channel. So tomorrow we have a really good tasting as well with the other Mark.
And Highland Park, I've got some Highland Park in my cupboard as well. Somebody will ask me, what do you drink? And I always say I'm not allowed to drink anything but Wolfburn. It's part of my contract. But that's not true. I've got Glengoyne, I've got some Bruichladdich, I've got Port Charlotte, I've got some Highland Park, I've got some Paul John Indian. What else? I've got some Arran, I've got some Tamnavulin. We're lucky. We're lucky. There's that many tastes and flavors out there as well. So
Johannes is saying that's his order, but he said that every whiskey is on his own very interesting.
Brilliant.
And good.
Next question. Last one. How do you get your mustache?
You have to grow it, and then you get some little sort of mustache wax as well from any independent retailers or Amazon or whatever. Again, I sometimes describe my beard and my mustache as my Wolfburn whiskers because I grew this when I first started doing shows and festivals. I wanted, again, I was a police officer for 30 years. So I had everybody knew me for what I did. And I says, right, that's part of my life. It's over. I've finished that. I've got to reinvent myself again. This is going to be a new chapter of my life. So because I can't grow on my head,
no problem.
And again, this is my. People can instantly recognise me now as the Wolfburn brand ambassador because it's the guy with the beard and stuff like that. But I don't do it for that reason. I did it for myself because I wanted just to reinvent myself. So, but I love it because it's when you look at the sea wolf, you can see the whiskers and you can see just that menacing look that you can have, and something like, see, a pre-lockdown, this was like Gandalf. It was away down yonder, But the barbers opened just this week in Scotland, so I went for a little trim before my presentation tonight, being the consummate professional that I am.
Yeah, see, I remember we were having a chat the other day, and then your daughter came past.
Yeah.
her off to the hairdresser because she got an appointment.
Yeah, well, yeah, and she's happy as Larry as well because she's had her hair coloured and done and weaved and oh my God, don't worry. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure tonight. The feedback, the questions, the experience, and this is what we want to do at Wolfburn. Again, we want to provide that immersive experience. We want to provide people quality drams. We want to provide them a quality experience, and hopefully after tonight they'll be waxing lyrical about our spirit. They'll tell many people, and it's available across Germany because, as I say, Germany is a stalwart market for us. Absolutely, they're knocking it out of the park. Alba Imports for us. They're doing a great job. And watch this space because there's going to be a new German edition later on in the year. So there'll be a Vibrant Stills #4.
Well, let us know when you do that because then we can get in a bit earlier and we'll put it into one of the tastings with Gerald or.
Yeah, that'll be brilliant. Yeah, and you've got the end to Alba already, Didi. So you know this is what it's all about. It's about making friends.
Yep.
Making the network available, and let's do it in a lovely, relaxed fashion, nice and simple, nice and laid back. Let's enjoy ourselves.
So you have a lot of comments. I say thank you to you.
Yeah, everybody.
We have to say thank you as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was easy. It was a pleasure.
Thank you to Lappi, Andreas. Thank you very much.
It was a great tip. Yeah.
And you get a really Franconian lob.
Low, yeah, compliment.
Okay.
Yes.
Hot pass, very good. Pasture. So yeah, that's really nice. So everybody enjoyed a lot. Thank you very much for that. So please stay online. I just want to say thank you to all our viewers. Thank you for
thank you very much.
Thank you for taking
part.
Evening. So I would say like 80% of them were Germans tonight, and they were still on, and they were still trying to understand everything. So it's not always that easy.
It's not easy.
So thank you for that.
But I think you're a little bit easier than
Kenny.
Kenny was.
That's true.
He's a bit thick, you know, with his accent. Yeah, he's hard.
Yeah, he's that Dumbarton drawl that Kenny has.
He's hardcore, yeah. But
yeah,
he's a nice guy.
Thanks very much from everybody that's joined tonight from Wolfburn. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we wouldn't be here.
Thanks very much, mate.
So yeah, job well done. Slange, prost.
Right, we're just finishing our drams, and you stay and I say goodbye to everybody. See you tomorrow.
Yes. Cheers. Thank you very much.
Good night.